Hey guys, how's it going? As some of you guys may know, I'm a very avid Magic the Gathering fan, and I've been playing the game since I was in high school. Yeah, so I've been playing the game for I don't know, like over 14 years now. I don't play it so much these days, but yeah, I played it a lot in high school, and I played it a lot online in university, and I played it a little bit after university as well, but not that much. But anyways, here are my decks here, my Magic the Gathering decks. Um, for those of you guys who don't know how Magic the Gathering works, I did a tutorial vid like a few years ago, and you feel free to watch that. But I just want to introduce you guys to my decks. So these are for people who know how Magic the Gathering works. So I'm not going to go over some of the basic concepts and stuff. That's going to take a while. So yeah, go look at some other Magic tutorial videos if you don't know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I want to explain to you guys, but basically all of my decks, how they work. And I'm a very casual player, by the way. So these are pretty much all casual decks, but I want to just show you guys what decks I have and what decks I built. I love building Magic the Gathering decks. It's one of my hobbies I've had for a long time. So yeah, I'm just going to introduce you guys to all my cards and all my decks and stuff. Okay, so I have right now 11 decks. I think it's a lot, but I've constructed and dismantled many of them throughout the years, but these are the ones I have right now. I'm going to introduce you to them one by one. So let's start off with, okay, let's start off with this one. I'm just going to go one by one here. Okay, so this one, and I'm not going to do any playthrough of these because that's going to take a long time. I'm just going to go over the basic concepts and some of the cards in these decks. So this one is a 75 card deck, and I like to keep my decks between 60 and 75 cards because more than that, then they get too inconsistent. Although that's really fun for some people. There's some people, you know, on Magic Online like to have 500 card decks or even 1,000 card decks because they like to have inconsistency. But for me, I usually keep my decks between 60 and 75 cards. 60 cards is usually the standard, I guess, for playing constructed, and I like to have a little bit more than that because, you know, there's just some cards I don't want to leave out. So I sometimes have 75 cards, and it's just for casual play. And whenever I go to Magic the Gathering meetups and stuff, then I usually bring 60, 75 card decks and play with people, two-headed giant, emperor, or just free for all. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so this deck is I would say it's my main deck, the deck that I iterate on the most. This is I don't really have a proper name for this deck. I just call it black, green, white because that's what the colors are in this deck, black, green, and white. And I have a lot of very expensive, very very high level cards in here. I say very high level, very expensive cards. Just gonna go over some of these cards here. I have Inquisition of Kozilek. This is a discard card, very powerful, very efficient. Then I have dual lands like Verdant Catacombs. This is a fetch land actually. Green black fetch land. Vindicate, very powerful card. 3 mana, destroy anything on the board. Eternal Witness, one of my favorite cards ever. Returns any card from your graveyard to your hand. And it's just extremely powerful card. I think there's a reason why this card has not been reprinted because it is extremely powerful. Abrupt Decay. This is a card that's very similar to Vindicate, except it's 2 mana, it's an instant, can't be countered, and only destroys mana cost 3 or less. So there's the drawback there. But it's still really useful for a lot of, you know, stuff in the game. There's another dual land here. So if we're going to it's green-black. And I have Solemn Visitor, which is a Planeswalker. And I have this deck is first ability, creatures gain +1, +0 lifelink, and then the second ability puts a 2/2 with flying onto the battlefield. So, you know, Planeswalkers are extremely powerful, so I like to have a lot of them. Not like too many, of course, but I like to have reasonably costed Planeswalkers. Usually nothing in my decks cost over 4 mana, by the way, so nothing in this deck costs over 4 mana. Reason for that is because I think over 4 mana, unless it's an extremely powerful card, I don't like to include it because I don't like to play with very high mana costed cards. You know, it slows the game down a little bit. I mean, it's fun, But it depends on the kind of deck you want to build, right? But for this deck, this particular deck is more of a high quality deck, so I don't want to include cards that cost too much in there. Pernicious Deed is a really, really powerful card, 3 mana. Then you pay X mana, you sack it, then you destroy basically everything on the board except for lands. With converted mana costs X or less, they can be regenerated. But since you can activate this at any time, like it's basically equivalent to like an instant. You can, like, the opponent plays something, you can respond to it by sacrificing it at any time, destroying anything you want, like basically everything on the board. It's basically Nevi's Disc on steroids, basically. So that's incredibly powerful. When Valor Keeper is Silence, 4 mana, 3/4 flying. And then, yeah, the ability speaks for itself. Creatures your opponents control can't activate their activated abilities, which is extremely powerful. Vampire Nighthawk is one of my favorite cards. Very, very simple, efficient. I like simple, efficient creatures. And this is it. 3 mana, 2/3 flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. Very simple, very efficient. Yeah, flying, Death Touch, Life. 3 abilities on a 3 mana creature. It's great. Now this one, another very efficient, very cool creature. 3 mana, 4 abilities. 3 mana, 2/2, First Strike, Pro Red, Pro Right, Infect. See, I like very simple, very efficient creatures. 3 mana, 4 abilities on this creature. Another dual land here, Temple Garden. This is for green white. Another one of these. Okay, Liliana Heretical Healer is 2/3 lifelink for 3 mana, so already pretty decent stats. And then whenever another non-token dies, you return her to the battlefield transformed, which is an ability here, and put a 2/2 black creature token, and she becomes a Planeswalker when she's transformed, and a +2 ability. Each player discards a card. X mana, return creature card with mana cost less from graveyard to the battlefield. Of course, very, very powerful when she's transformed. So all that just for 3 mana initial investment. Very, very efficient and powerful. Black Sun Zenith, one of my favorite removal cards. X mana, put X -1/-1 counters on each creature. Now this effect is in some ways better than Destroy, because even if you can't destroy them, you can at least weaken them, you know. And then with counter effects, a lot of people like to, play Doubling Season and counter effects like that. The fact that they have -1/-1 counters kind of prevent that. So if some creature has some ability that they can activate with the +1/+1 counter, this cancels it out, which is great. Okay, another dual land here. This one is black-white. Another Pernicious Deed. Oh, this is also really efficient creature here. Bramaz, King of Rescos, 3 mana, 3/4 vigilance. When attacks, put a 1/1 soldier with vigilance attacking, and when it blocks, you get a 1/1 soldier blocking. So obviously very, very powerful stats and abilities. Another one, fetch land for green-white, Windswept Heath. Garruk Wildspeaker, one of my favorite planeswalkers, 4 mana. Just his abilities, everything is really useful. Untap 2 lands for his +1. Get a 3/3 token for his second ability. And his last ability is an overrun. So that's one of my favorite planeswalkers. Birds of Paradise, you gotta have it for multicolor decks. Just really efficient mana reproduction. 1 mana, 0/1 flying. Tap, add 1 mana color. Just great for fixing up mana. And it's an auto include in a lot of my multicolor decks. Okay, my other planeswalker, my other Sorin planeswalker, slightly different. Similar abilities, I guess, but slightly different. Put a a 1/1 black creature token, lifelink, as his +1. His -2 is get an emblem. Creatures you control get +1/+0. A permanent attack boost. Emblems can't be removed very easily. So yeah, Swords to Plowshares, very efficient removal. You can also replace this with Path to Exile. And I'm using Swords here because I like it a little bit better than Path to Exile. But some people may like Path to Exile better, And obviously Swords to Plowshares is not legal in Modern, whereas Path to Exile is legal in Modern. But I keep the Swords. Knight of the Reliquary, very interesting card. It's actually a mana fixer and a very efficient creature. 3 mana for a 2/2, but it gets +1/+1 for each land card in my graveyard. And since I have so many fetch lands that sack itself, this has the potential to be very big. And then you can sack a dual land to search your library for any land card, anything, and you put it onto the battlefield. So that's very good ability. Yeah, so I can sacrifice dual lands. When this says forest or plains. Dual lands because they count as both. I can sack them, so I can notice I don't have any basic land cards in this deck because this is a very high level deck, high quality deck, so I don't have any even basic lands in here. So I'm very vulnerable to non-basic land removal. But anyways, Auburn Vipers are really, I love the design of this guy. 3 mana for 1/3. Deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. When it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So whenever it deals damage to anything, something happens, which is really, really great design, I think. That's one of my best design, I think one of the best design cards ever. It's not like the most powerful card, but just because of the amazing design and efficiency alone, I put it in here. Okay, Voice of Resurgence. Whenever opponent casts a spell during my turn, or it dies, I get a token with this creature's power and toughness equal number of creatures you control. So basically, I get a Scion of the Wild. You guys can look that card up. But I get a Scion of the Wild when it dies, or when you play like a counter spell or an instant during my turn. It's really good against blue decks, I guess. Dark Confidant, very powerful card. 2/1 at the beginning of my upkeep, I get the top card in my library, put it in my hand, and lose life to that mana cost. A lot of people don't understand, especially young players, young kids I play with, they don't understand why this card is so good. You know, they're like, oh, you lose life every turn, it's not that great. But the thing is, high level players, we know that like 1/3 of our deck is going to be lands, and the fact that you lose life is worth drawing an extra card every turn. Like the card advantage and the tempo advantage is real. So basically 1/3 of the time you're just going to put lands into your hand, and lands are free, so you don't take any damage from that. And a lot of, like I said, nothing in my deck costs more than 4 mana. So I'm never going to be taking that much damage, and the fact that I get an extra card every turn is worth it to most people. That's why that card is good. Alright, so got more lands, more guys. Sensei's Divining Top, very, very powerful card. I believe this has been restricted or banned in some formats. Basically, it's an artifact Sylvan Library. You look at the top 3 cards, put them back in any order, draw a card. It's like fixing the top of your deck every turn. You know, it's just an amazing card. Okay, Reflecting Pool is add to your mana pool 1 mana of any type that any land you control can produce. So if you don't have any lands on the field, this is a very bad card. If you have dual lands on the field, like I do usually, then this is really, really good. It's basically like a free, no drawback, can produce any mana that you want. Bitter Blossom. Every turn, I get a 1/1 and lose one life. And that's, like I said, losing life for tempo is generally a good trade-off in Magic the Gathering. Another fetch land here for black-white. Marsh Flats. I got another Sensei's. Oh, I thought I only had one. Maybe I had 2. Okay, Scavenging Ooze. 2/2. Basically, I have this card because I can't afford Timoglyphs. But yeah, really good in a multiplayer game. You can exile cards in a graveyard. If it's a creature, this thing grows and you gain a life. Really, really good in multiplayer matches when they have, you have a ton of guys in people's graveyards, and this can be very big. So like that. Collected Company is an instant which I like. Top 6 cards, put 2 creature cards, mana cost 3 or less, which is going to be most of my deck. I only have a few from 4 mana cost cards. Put them on your battlefield, put the rest in any order. Glitz of the Trader, another really efficient, really great creature. 3 mana for 3/3 first strike, Death Touch. What a great combination this is. First strike means that it always, kills anything without first strike. It attacks first. Death Touch means that it destroys anything it does damage to. So pretty much anything that doesn't have first strike just dies to this without even touching it. So that's such a great card. I don't even care about the second ability that much, but just the first 2 abilities, it synergizes so well. I love the design of that. And it's a limited edition one too. Okay, Marine Bosque is basically a forest that comes to play tapped. I don't have any Tree Folk. The reason I have this is because this is the only card I know that can add green, white, and black that, does not come into play. Well, I should say it doesn't come into play tapped. Oh, no. This color combination is just really hard to find, I find, yeah. Like, even like using like a dual or triple land, green, white, and black is just really hard to find. Marine Bosque is one of the few lands that has this combination. That's why I'm using it. Even though it's going to come into play tapped most of the time. Mother Rune's one of the best 1-drops in the game. One of the best 1-drops in Magic's history, I would say. 1 mana for 1/1. and then you can make any creature you control gain protection from a color of your choice until end of turn for, yeah, just by tapping. No mana investment, and it's just 1 mana, can protect itself, you know. That's, and you know, protection is a very, very powerful ability in Magic, so that's very nice to have. We've gone over those ones before. Which ones haven't we gone over? Oh, Elspeth Knight Errant, great card. This is the alternate art for it. It's the promotional art, I think. 4 mana, and it's 4 health or 4 counters. +1. He has 2 +1s. There's no second minus. So get a 1/1 soldier every turn, or you can make something get +3/+3 and gain flying until end of turn. Both abilities are really good to have. I like that card a lot. What else do we have? Kitchen Finks, a really great card too. 3 mana for 3/2. Comes into play, you gain 2 life. Persist, so if it dies, it comes back as a 2/1. And yeah, it comes back into play, so you gain another 2 life. So that's just really, really good for 3 mana investment. Plus it's hybrid, which means you can play it with green or white or both. Knight of Bladehold, one of my few 4 mana cards in this deck, but it's really, really good, that's why. 3/4, when it attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0, pumps up all of the other creatures, and I get 2 1/1s, but these are basically 2/1s because of the battle cry ability. So each time it attacks, I get 2 2/1s on the field, tapped and attacking. That's why it's worth 4 mana. This is probably the most powerful equipment in the game. 2 mana. This has been probably, I think this is banned in Modern. Is it banned? Okay. But anyways, I'm playing casual, so I'm going to use it. So this equipment, it's just for 2 mana. Whenever it deals combat damage, you get to choose so many different abilities. You can either, you get a charge count, you put 2 charge counters whenever the equipped creature does damage, and then you can remove one of them for making that creature stronger, getting +1/+2, or making any creature get -1/-1, like killing some other guy's creature, or you gain 2 life. So this versatility means this equipment is probably the best equipment in the game, and it's so powerful. Like you can, I usually kill things with it, but in a pinch, it can save you from dying. In a pinch, you can save your creature from dying. Like, it's just so versatile. That's why it's banned in Modern. What else do we have? Garruk Relentless. This is not as good as the other Garruk, but it's still pretty good. When it has 2 or few counters on it, then transform him. So this first ability is deal 3 damage, and then that creature deals damage back. That means that you can, it's preferable not to deal damage to something that has 3 power, because you'll die. This thing will die, but it can do that basically. So as it's basically 3 damage and could possibly kill him, but if it doesn't, then he transforms, and he can put a 2/2 wolf. You know, he can create defenders, and when he transforms, then his +1 is put a 1/1 with Death Touch, and his second one, I don't use it that often, but you can sack to search for any creature and put it in your hand. So it's like a tutor for the second ability. Yeah, which is really, really good. But he doesn't transform that often because he often dies for many reasons. All right, what do we have left? I think that's pretty much it. And this is the alternate art for Reflecting Pool. Anyways, that's it for my black, green, white deck. This is probably my most powerful deck and most expensive deck in terms of the money that each card costs. So this is pretty much the main deck that I use. That's it. Okay, another card I want to mention from this deck is the Sword of Fire and Ice. This is a really powerful equipment. It's one of the most powerful equipments along with the Umezawa Jide. This one's 3 mana, equip 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has protection from red and blue. When it deals combat damage to a player, then it deals 2 damage to a creature or player, and you draw a card. So, I mean, just, yeah, it's really, really powerful. The effect is really, really powerful. Gets protection from 2 colors, gets pumped up, and then whenever it deals damage, then you can like kill something, you can ping something, and you draw a card. So this is one of the best equipments in the game. So, yeah, that's Sword of Fire and Ice, and yeah, that's my black, green, white deck. Yeah, one of my really high level decks that I often play with. That's it. Alright, so this is the second deck I'm going to show you guys. Oh, This is my what I call my Shaman Rock deck. So in Magic terms, a rock deck is like a green black deck that has a lot of very efficient, very powerful cards, and I call it Shaman Rock because of a card called Fauna Shaman, which I'll show you actually. I'll just go over each card. Okay, Solemn Simulacrum. This deck revolves around a lot of creatures with comes into the battlefield effects, or leaving the battlefield effects, or something from the graveyard, you know. So yeah, enters the battlefield. Solemn Simulacrum. You search your library for a basic land, put it in the battlefield tapped, and then when it dies, I draw a card. So this deck revolves around a lot of creatures like this, enter the battlefield effects and stuff. So that's why that's there. Maelstrom Pulse is really good. It's kind of like Vindicate, but you can only destroy non-lands. But the advantage is that you destroy everything else with the same name. So if the opponent has tokens, or if the opponent has 2 or more copies of the same card on the battlefield, then this is better than Vindicate. Sylvan Library. This is basically Senseless Divining Top in enchantment form. You draw 3 cards every turn, basically. You know, well, 2 cards in addition to your regular card that you draw every turn, and then you can choose to put them back on top of your library or pay 4 life per card that you keep. You usually shouldn't. Well, I usually don't pay 4 life per card unless it's really, really good and I need it. But basically, it just digs your deck deeper, which is really good. Okay, it's a black-green deck. We know that. Thrown the Last Troll, very efficient creature, 4 mana, 4/4. Can't be countered. Can't be targeted spells or abilities. Basically, it's hexproof. That's same thing as hexproof. 2 mana to regenerate. So very, very hard to kill. Yeah, it's just very, very hard to kill and get rid of. Like especially if you're facing a blue deck, they can't return it back to your hand. They can't counter it. Yeah, it's very hard to deal with. Vampiric Tutor is a really good card. 1 mana instant. Just pay 2 life. Search your library for any card and put it on top of your deck, just for 1 mana instant. Very, very powerful card. Overgrown Battlement. This is because I have some other walls in this deck as well, but it's just a very good wall. Just 2 mana, 0/4. Can attack, obviously. It's a wall, but it adds 1 mana. You can add 1 mana for each wall that you have, and I have other walls in this deck. So this is a dual land, Woodland Cemetery, black-green. So gotta have dual lands. Vengevine, 4 mana, 4/3 haste. Hasty guy. When you cast a spell, if it's a second creature spell, you return it from your graveyard to your battlefield. So you can reanimate it, basically, if you play a lot of creatures in this deck, which often I do. And I sell them. Okay, Genesis is cool. 5 mana, 4/4. Each upkeep, if it's in my graveyard, I can pay 3 mana. And I mean, at the beginning of my upkeep, so every turn if it's in my graveyard, I can pay 3 mana. And if I do, I return any creature from my graveyard to my hand. If this is in my graveyard. So that means the only way to stop this effect from happening is if the opponent has something to remove this from the graveyard, which a lot of people don't. So this is often very hard to get rid of, and then you can get your creatures back every turn, which is very annoying. And replay them, and that's why I have a lot of enters the battlefield effects, so you can keep replaying them, you know. Eternal Witness, I've gone over this one before, but it's an amazing card. Any card gets back from your graveyard to your hand. What can I say? It's just amazing. Gone with this. Wall of Blossoms is the other wall I have in my deck. 2 mana, 0/4. Comes into play, you draw a card. I mean, it's very simple. I still wish they should reprint this card. I don't know why they haven't reprinted it in Modern Masters yet, but they should definitely reprint this in Modern Masters, the next one. Yeah, it's just a really, really awesome, efficient card. 2 mana, 0/4. Enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Very simple. Mega Fat. So imprint, when something dies, I put it in the Mimic Vat, and then 3 mana, I put a token to play. So copy, gains haste. The main reason I have this is because I have a lot of creatures with enters the battlefield effect. So say my Wall of Blossoms dies, then I put it on the Mimic Vat, and then I can pay 3 mana, put a 0/4, and I draw a card because this has an effect, right? And in this case, I draw a card. In the Eternal Witness case, I get a card back. You know, so that's why I have a lot of enters the battlefield interactions here. Very cool. Demonic Tutor is what can I say? It's It's better than Vampiric Tutor, and for 1 more mana, you get it directly to your hand. Like, just search your library for any card you put in your hand, like for 2 mana. That's just amazing, right? The best tutor, just puts it directly in your hand. You have my other, again, very good, well, in this case, when it dies, it has an ability. I search my library for 2 land cards, and I put it in my hand when it dies, and I can sacrifice it to make it die. So it actually gives you a +3 card advantage if you use the ability here. And by the way, if I use Mimic Vat, tokens actually do die. I think tokens actually do go to the graveyard, so this effect will still trigger even if it's a token, which makes it great. You have my Hollow. It adds colorless mana, which is not good for this deck, but the special ability here, regenerate target creature, can be very useful. So I have it there. Acidic Slime, another very good into the battlefield ability. Death Touch kills anything, but when it enters the battlefield, destroy artifact, enchantment, or land. Of course, if I can make this effect happen multiple times, that's very good. Profane Command. I like this card, very versatile. I choose 2 of these abilities. Make the player lose X life. Return a creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield. Kill a creature, get -X, or X target creatures gain fear, which means they can't be blocked by black creatures or artifact. They can't be blocked except by black creatures and artifact creatures, which is a lot of the time, and they might not be expecting it. So fear is can be a quick burst of damage for them to seal the kill, or kill some creatures or get a creature back, or just straight outright make the player lose life. It's just so versatile. I love it. Another Vampiric. Garruk Relentless, you've seen this in my other deck, but yeah, really awesome guy. Planeswalker. It can deal 3 damage to a creature, give 3 tokens, and when it transforms, puts a 1/1 token Death Touch, and tutors for a creature card when it transforms. Which it doesn't that often, but its initial form is also really good. Yeah, Volrath Stronghold, also really cool land. It's colorless mana, yes, but 2 mana, you put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. And because lands are so hard to destroy in comparison to creatures, the fact that this ability is on a land is really annoying, and really annoying for the opponent, and really useful. Okay, another Vengevine. Have Kitchen Finks. Gone over this card before, but it's really awesome. I can just put this card in so many of my decks. It's so awesome. 3 mana for 3/2. Comes into battlefield ability. Comes to play ability. Gain 2 life. And persist. So if it dies, comes back again, gains me another 2 life. So I can reuse this effect to gain life, which is awesome. This is a promotional version too. Living Death. Really cool. This is a really cool card. Each player exiles all creatures from his ability, sacrifices, and then puts all the cards they exile on the battlefield. Basically, what this does is, whatever you have on the battlefield, whatever you have in graveyard, you basically swap them. You swap the creatures in your battlefield and the creatures in your graveyard. So you swap them, and then what was dead becomes alive, what was alive becomes dead. So oftentimes I use this when I have a lot of dying effects and the opponent has a lot of creatures, and then I use this, and all my creatures trigger the dying effects, and my creatures come back from the graveyard with their enter the battlefield effects. So I get like so much value out of that, and the opponent's creatures dies. Okay, Fauna Shaman. This is the reason why I call this deck Shaman Rock for Fauna Shaman. It's a built-in ability that's like Survival of the Fittest, if any of you know that card. Same amount of mana cost, but yeah, the ability is discard a creature card, search my library for a creature, and put it in my hand. This is useful because I can search, I can tutor for anything I want, and I put the creature in my graveyard so I can use it for another graveyard-related effect. Which I have here, Recurring Nightmare. So these two, this is the old school combo. This used to be Survival of the Fittest, but now it's Fauna Shaman. Basically, I can sack a creature, return this to my hand. This is an enchantment. It goes back to my hand. Then I can get a creature card from my graveyard into play. But if I discarded a creature card, basically I can discard anything, search my library for a creature card, sack some other creature I have on the field, and return the one I just discarded into the battlefield. That's really useful, and that makes this card kind of broken. The fact that you return this to your hand makes it kind of hard for the opponents to destroy this. They have to use like a naturalize or something, but they can't destroy this with a sorcery anyways. They have to use an instant. Okay, and this might be one of the creatures that I target with Recurring Nightmare. Basically, when it comes into play, into the battlefield, I get 4 1/1 squirrel tokens, which are basically 2/2s because of the second ability. So I get 4 2/2s when it comes back. And if I can abuse this and reuse this, I get 4 1/1s every time. So that's, or 4 2/2s every time, so that's awesome. Pretty awesome. Soul Foundry. So I imprint, it comes into play. So I remove a creature card in my hand, I put it on this, pay the creature's mana cost, and then I can make a token copy of it. And like I said, token copies still get to use their enter the battlefield and dying effects. So yeah, with something like this, for example, pay 5 mana, I get 4 2/2 squirrels every time, or Kitchen Finks, I can copy that, I gain 2 life, and 2 life every time. On copy like this one, I get massive card draw all the time, so it's really useful. It's very similar to the Mimic Vat, actually. What else do I have? Gone over all those ones. Oh, Yawgmoth's Will. This is a very powerful card. This is banned, by the way. So, but I'm playing casual, so it's okay. Until end of turn, I play cards in my graveyard as though they were in my hand. Cards I'm putting in my graveyard remove from game instead. So yeah, if I have stuff in my graveyard, my graveyard just becomes my hand for 1 turn. That's why this is banned. It's ridiculously powerful, but yeah, in casual settings, it's nice to pull that one off once in a while. They go, well, you're playing with Yawgmoth's Will. What the heck? It's cheating. All right, Treetop Village, awesome. It's 2 mana. Oh, I have Spirit Monger just for nostalgic reasons. This guy is just really awesome. It's 5 mana for 6/6. I know with the power creep in Magic these days, this guy might not seem that great, but back in the day, he was really good. Hall of Fame creature, guys. 5 mana for 6/6. When it deals damage, Vampiric Effect, he gets a +1/+1 counter. He grows as long as he doesn't die. But then it's hard for you to make him die because he can regenerate, and he also becomes the card of your choice. So that can be useful for like a Circle of Protection or something if the opponent still plays those things. But yeah, Spearmonger, really awesome creature. Liliana the Veil is very powerful planeswalker. +1 abilities, each player discards a card. Plus the -2 is a Chainer's Edict, basically, making the player sack a creature, which is really good because this is not a targeting effect. So if the opponent has a hexproof creature like a Thrun, then they have to get rid of it because it's a sacrifice effect. So it's not a targeted effect. So that's a really good ability. Thragtusk is also a really cool creature for the reason that it has an enters the battlefield and it leaves the battlefield effect. Gain 5 life, put a 3/3 beast creature token when it dies. Yeah, you put this on a Mimic Vat or a Soul Foundry, then you reap the benefits every time when the token enters and dies. Score Rack. Number 1, this is an interesting card. It's very similar to Sensei's Divine Top, I think. It's just you basically choose any number of, it's basically a Sensei's Top that's like, or a Sylvan Library that's like you choose like an X amount of cards to put up back on top of your deck, but you choose a number of cards in your hand, you put it aside, and you draw that many cards, and you put those cards on that you just set aside on top of the deck. So you just shuffle your cards around, but it lets you get to your good cards faster, which is really great. So that's it. That's my Shaman Rock deck, black-white. Very cool deck, and I duplicate most of these decks in Magic Online, but yeah, it's a cool deck. Alright, and the third deck I'm going to show you guys is my Venser deck. I call this my Venser deck because the namesake Planeswalker, Venser the Sojourner, right here. I'm going to show you guys, this is the main reason for this deck here. Venser the Sojourner. He's a Planeswalker. It costs 5 mana. +2 is Exile. Basically, this is like a flicker effect. You exile something you have on the field, and then we return it to the battlefield. Some people might not understand what this does, but if you have enter the battlefield or leave the battlefield effects, this can trigger it. And that's why I have a lot of creatures here in this deck. Very similar to my Shaman Rock deck. I have a bunch of creatures here that have enter the battlefield or leave the battlefield effects, so I can trigger it with this first ability. Second one, creatures are unblockable this turn, self-explanatory there. Never really used the last one, but it's really cool. Okay, because he never really lasts that long. When this comes in the field, people want to kill planeswalkers, you know. Anyways, this is my Venser deck. Let's go over it. I have a bunch of cards that make reusing my creatures very, very easy. So I have Crystal Shard. Return creature to its owner's hand unless its control pays 1. This is mostly for my own creatures. I usually use this on my own creatures so I can reuse the enter the battlefield or leave the battlefield effects. Equilibrium, same thing. Cast a creature, you may pay 1 to return target creature to its owner's hand. You can use it both offensively and defensively, either on the opponent's creature or my own creature. Like both these, yeah, like if the opponent doesn't have any spare mana untapped, then you can just return it to the hand. Equilibrium, your opponent doesn't even have that option. It just goes back to their hand. Or you can, yeah, return your own creature. I have a fire here, and I don't know if I'll keep this card here. This is something I put into experiment. But I just have it in here for now. I'm not sure how often this will be a creature, but anyways, if you have another creature into the battlefield, last turn, draw a card. This can be useful because I do have a lot of flicker effects in this deck, so it should, in theory, trigger a lot. Another event to the Sojourner here. I think this is a different art. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I gotta have a bunch of them because that's the namesake of this deck. Oh, this is a really cool card. Mystic Study. This card has not been reprinted because it's insanely powerful for a common. When an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. So basically, this card, what it says is that, especially in a multiplayer game, this card is insane. It basically says all your opponent's spells either cost one mana more, or you get to draw a card whenever that opponent plays a spell, which is like almost anything, right? A spell is almost anything that's not a land. So basically, when an opponent plays anything, you draw a card, or their spell costs 1 mana more, which is insane. And this is a common. Like, that's an insane card, especially multiplayer. I have a Jace Balerion. I have a few Jaces. I have a lot of Planeswalkers in this deck, actually. This is really the lowest costing Jace. Just 3 mana. Make everyone draw a card, or make yourself draw a card. Simple. Alright, this is the second Jace. Unraveler Secrets. The 5 mana one, +1, scry 1, draw a card. Second one, return the creature to its owner's hand, which is an ability of the Mind Sculptor one, but obviously not as good. Propaganda, this is to prevent, this is a really good card for, preventing the opponent from attacking you. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. So it just slows down their attack. Really good card to have in multiplayer. Erratic Portal is very, very similar to Crystal Shard. It is basically Crystal Shard, except it's 4 mana instead of... It's 4 mana instead of 3 mana here, but the difference is I can pay any mana for this ability. With this one, you have to pay blue or 3 colorless. This one's just 1 colorless. Restoration Angel enters the battlefield effect, but they enter the battlefield effect and as flash, so it's an instant. You can play as an instant. Enters the battlefield, you can exile a non-angel creature, which is most of my creatures, then flicker them, which means re-trigger their battlefield effects. So, and this itself has a enter the battlefield effect. So, Celestial Colonnade, it's kind of an end game thing, where if the opponent doesn't, or if I don't have any creatures left for some reason, I can just turn this into a creature and attack with it. Plus, it's dual color. So this is a blue-white deck, So obviously, yeah, I want some dual lands. Blade Splicer has an enter the battlefield effect. You put a 3/3 colorless creature as first strike, and that's really it. I just want a 3/3 token whenever it comes into the battlefield. Kitchen Finks, I had this in a lot of my other decks. Comes in the battlefield, I gain 2 life, and then when it dies, it comes back. This is really good enter the battlefield effect. You can keep regaining life, So that's really good to have as well. Ghostly Prison is basically Propaganda, except in white. I mean, they're really exactly the same card, except one is white, one is blue. Wall of Omens is basically Wall of Blossoms, color shifted to white. 2 mana for 0/4, enters the battlefield, draw a card. So that enter the battlefield effect, when you flicker it, then you can keep reusing it. So, obviously very good with Venser. Let's see, we have Fog Bank here. 2 mana for 0/2. Does not deal or receive damage, and it's flying. So this is basically a very good stopper card. You know, like if the opponent say they have like a really massive creature, like a 10/10 creature without trample, then just block it with this, and it's like, whatever. You're at 10/10. I don't care. I just use a 0/2 to block you, and I'll block you every turn. This thing never dies because it never receives damage. Okay, Gilded Drake, 2 mana 3/3. This battlefield effect is you exchange control of this with target creature one of your opponent's control, and the reason I have this is because I can use something like Crystal Shard to bounce it back to my hand. Now this is still owned by me, so this is just the ability. We switch control, but this is still owned by me ultimately. So basically I can just put it out, bounce it back to my hand, reuse the ability, and I keep the creature that the opponent controls. Yeah, exchange control, and I keep it forever. So that control effect is permanent unless it gets bounced back to his hand. So basically I use it to take control of opponent's creatures for free. Okay, and I got Elspeth Sun's Champion, the 6 mana. 3/1/1 soldier creature tokens into the plus the first ability, really powerful. Second one is destroy all creatures, power 4 or greater. You know, both really powerful abilities. I still like the 4 mana Elspeth better, but yeah. Blood Clock, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, every turn basically, and this deck is really good for multiplayer, I think. So every turn, that player returns something that they have into their hand unless they pay 2 life. Now, I don't really care about the opponents, what they do. The reason for this is because I want to reuse effects. So, you know, Kitchen Finks, Wall of Omens. Every turn, I return these guys back to my hand and I reuse the abilities. For the opponent, you know, it's obviously a drawback for the opponent usually. So for me, it's like a advantage. And the opponent, it's a drawback, which is cool. Clever Opponent Assassinator is a battlefield effect. They have a battlefield effect. Enter the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent. And that's cool. I can copy basically any one of these things, which means I can copy an artifact, enchantment, creature, whatever. And if I return it back to my hand, I can copy something else if I need to. Tamiel the Moon Sage, another Planeswalker. First ability, tap a permanent. It does not untap. Next untap step. 2 mana, draw a card for each tap creature someone controls. So it's a good stalling Planeswalker. Another dual land here for white, blue. Soul Ring, awesome card. 1 mana, tap, add 2 to your mana pool. Obviously very, very good. What I have here, did this, Glenelendra Archmage is cool. 2 mana, 4 mana, 2/2 flying. Sacrifice it to counter target non-creature spell, and it persists, which means it comes back. Now the thing is, when I flicker this thing, when this thing gets flickered, when it gets removed, exiled, and then comes back into the battlefield, or I return it to my hand and I replay it, the persist effect means that I can keep doing this, you know. So every time the 1/1 counter -1 counter gets removed, and this comes back as a new creature. So when this leaves the battlefield and comes back, it comes back new without the -1/-1 counter. And that means that I can keep on countering non-creature spells. I can keep reusing that effect, which is awesome. And what else? Oh, this is a new card I just added in for experimentation. If artifact creature entering causes a triggered ability to control the trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So, you know, enter the battlefield abilities are triggered abilities. So that means that this would actually cause it to trigger twice. So that's pretty good for this deck. Parallax Wave is cool. 4 mana, Fading 5 just means it dies this thing dies in 5 turns, but you can remove a counter to remove target creature from the game, and then when it leaves, all those cards come back. So you can use this either offensively or defensively. You can use it to remove an opponent's annoying creature and keep it at bay for a few turns, or you can use it on your own creature to make the enter the battlefield effects happen again when this thing dies. A Bellicus is basically Bloodhawk. They are the same card. Yeah, they're the same card. I just like to have some variety, I guess. Oh yeah, there it is. Same card. Elspeth Material is 5 mana. The +2 gain 1 life for each creature control. The -2 is put 3/1/1 creatures in battlefield. So the difference between this and the 6 mana one is that the 6 mana one, this is the first ability, the plus ability, Whereas on this one, it's a minus ability, but this is 1 mana less. So, oh, Jace the Mind Sculptor, probably the most powerful planeswalker ever, and I think this is banned actually in Modern. But anyways, 4 mana for 3, 4 mana, 3 counters, 4 abilities. The first one, you look at someone's top card of someone's library and you can put it on the bottom. That's not that useful. This one is really good. It's a Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your deck. That's really powerful. The minus one is also really powerful. Return target creature to its owner's hand. It's an unsummon for, yeah. So the first ability, second ability is a Brainstorm for free. The third ability, a minus one, is an unsummon. So this is actually strictly better than the other Jace that we saw. But this one's a lot more expensive to buy. And it's banned in Modern. Okay, and I think that's it. I've showed you the Venser already. This is the Venser back when he was a human. This is when he was a planeswalker. This is when he is a human. This one you can play as an instant. When it comes to play, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. So yeah, it can be used it can use to counter a spell basically, or it can be used to as a boomerang. And yeah, this Venser actually works well with his human self. He can actually flicker himself, comes back, returns something else to someone's hand. You know, very versatile card, and he works with his own self, which is cool. Yeah, that's it. That's my Venser deck. Hope you guys enjoyed that little analysis here. All right, that's it for that Venser deck. 75 cards, by the way. All right, so the fourth deck I want to show you guys is my Underworld Dreams deck. It's named in honor of this card here, Underworld Dreams. Now this is a really cool card. 3 mana enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, this deals 1 damage to them. This deck is used mostly in multiplayer, and it works very well in multiplayer. So whenever any opponent draws a card, you know, this thing deals damage to all of them basically. And if you have multiples of them out, then you know you can do multiples amount of damage, which is great. I don't have many creatures in the deck. I think I only have like this deck used to have no creatures at all because it's an anti-creature deck. But I think I might have put some creatures in it now. Let's go over. Okay, Portcullis. I have a lot of cards in this deck that make it hard for the opponent to either attack me or to have creatures on the board. Or to have any creatures on the board. Yeah. Okay, this card, whenever any creature comes into play, comes on the battlefield, if there's 2 or more creatures in the battlefield, then that creature gets exiled until this artifact is destroyed. So that's a way of preventing the opponent from attacking me and having a lot of creatures. So token decks are rest in peace. You create your infinite tokens? I don't think so. You're only allowed to have 2. Howling Mine, great multiplayer card. Every player draws an additional card every turn. That's basically what this does. Yeah, it's great. Mox Opal, I have a lot of artifacts in this deck. I can tap to add 1 mana to my mana pool. And this is 0 mana, by the way. 0 mana. If I have 3 or more artifacts, then I can add, which is Metalcraft, I can add 1 mana of any color to my mana pool. This is good. This is a great enchantment. 4 mana, whenever a creature deals damage to me, destroy it. Pretty simple, pretty effective. And yeah, keeps the creatures off me. Sun Droplet, this is another great multiplayer card. Whenever I'm dealt damage, this thing gets that many charge counters, and then every player's upkeep, then I remove a charge counter and I gain 1 life. So I slowly gain all the life back I lost when this is in play. Yeah, when this is in play, it's on the battlefield. Whatever damage they dealt to me, I gradually gain it back when every player's turn, which is great. Underworld Dreams, talked about this already, central card of this deck. This is very similar to Underworld Dreams, Spiteful Visions. It costs 1 mana more, but this one is 3 black mana. Actually, I think this deck's all black. Yeah, it's mono black anyways, but anyways, this is 2 colors and 2 black anyways. Yeah, at the beginning of each player's card, that player draws a card and then deals 1 damage when they draw that card. So basically, this is a combination of Howling Mine and Underworld Dreams into 1 card. This does both of them, and then so this is a really good card. You know, I know it does damage to yourself. Actually, it says each player, so it actually does damage to yourself. Underworld Dreams only does damage to opponents. That's the drawback of this card. but the benefits outweigh the drawbacks because I have so many cards that support this strategy. Font of Mythos. Beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards, deals more damage with Underworld Dreams in play. Dark Ritual is really awesome. 1 mana to add 3 mana to your mana pool for 1 turn. It's basically just play this, play Dark Ritual, Underworld Dreams on the first turn. You know, great opening there. Bloodchief Ascension looks complicated, but basically it's 1 mana enchantment. On every player's turn, if they lost 2 or more life that turn, then I get a counter on this. If this has 3 or more counters, and then a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, which means that if a creature died, if a opponent died, if they discarded a card, that player loses 2 life, and I gain 2 life. So that's actually going to happen very often, that an opponent loses 2 or more life every turn because of Underworld Dreams and other cards I have in this deck. Teferi's Puzzle Box basically means that at every player's turn, every turn that player puts all the cards back from his hand into the bottom of his library, then draws that many cards. So basically that player's hand gets shuffled into a new hand every turn, and this makes them take a ton of damage from Underworld Dreams, right? Every time they draw a card, deals 1 damage. If they're redrawing cards every turn, you know, Teferi's Puzzle Box does a ton of damage to them. Okay, this is probably don't have any creatures in this duration. No, I don't think I have any creatures in this one then. This is very, very anti-creature card. Whenever a creature comes into play, enters the battlefield, its controller sacrifices a creature or land. So this is obviously very bad for opponents who are playing creatures. So if I don't have any creatures in this deck, I don't get affected by it. And a lot of people hate playing against this deck because of all the anti-creature cards in this deck. Valkyrie Tower, I have no maximum hand size. Very useful because I have Howling Mine, which makes me draw a lot of cards. Sculpting Steel, 3 mana to copy any artifact in the battlefield. And yeah, I copy Howling Mine a lot. Copy Font of Mythos. I can copy Teferi's Puzzle Box to make them draw a shit ton more cards. Yeah, a lot of targets to copy. Or Sun Droplet, you know, I can gain. If I've double Sun Droplet on the battlefield, that means I gain back double the life that I lost, which means that it's actually futile for them to ever do damage to me if I have 2 or more Sun Droplets on the field. Miko Koro is a legendary land, 2 mana, each player draws a card. I want them to draw as many cards as they can because of Underworld Dreams. Then I got Black Vice here. If the opponent has more than 4 or more cards in their hand, which they're likely to have if they're drawing on a lot of cards, then Black Vice deal 1 damage for each card more than 4. So they'll take a maximum of 3 damage every turn because I have 7 cards. Yeah. Anyways, it's 1 mana to play that, so it's really cool. Ebony Owl Netsky is if each opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, deals 4 damage. So this one deals 3 damage max, and if they have 7 cards, when this is on the field, it deals 4 damage. It's colorless damage too, which is cool. Okay, Temple Bell. This is basically like Howling Mine, except it's a tap, and it's 1 mana more than Howling Mine. But anyways, the same effect. Make each player draw an extra card every turn. Same effect. Tangle Wire, a lot of people hate this card, hate to play against this card. Fading 4 means this dies after 4 turns, but every turn that player taps an untapped artifact, creature, or land they control for each counter on this. So that means when I play this, next turn every opponent I'm playing against, they have to tap 4 things, 4 artifact, creatures, or lands, which will prevent them, you know, from attacking or playing stuff. Then next turn 3, then next turn 2, then next turn 1. So it's extremely annoying card to play against. For me, it doesn't affect it that much because I can tap Tangle Wire first of all, and second of all, I have a lot of artifacts. I can tap like the Black Vice or something. You know, it doesn't affect me as much, but it affects them way more. What else do I have? Static Orb, another annoying card to play against. 3 mana. Players can't attack more than 2 permanents during their tap step. And when you're tapping a bunch of crap using Tangle Wire, then basically with these 2, it's like the opponent can't do anything, basically. They're just like, they can tap 2, and then they have to tap 4, so they're like, they can't do anything. So that's why people hate playing against this deck. Necropotence, 3 mana. I don't draw anymore, but I can pay 1 life to draw a card, basically. whenever discarded, remove a card from the game, exile it. But paying 1 life to draw a card is incredibly powerful, so it's worth it. And what else do I have? Yes, Iron Maiden. This is a really good card for multiplayer. This is basically Black Vice that works for every player. Each opponent's upkeep deals 1 damage for every card more than 4. So basically this is a Black Vice on every player, whereas Black Vice only works on 1 player at a time. Iron Maiden works for every player. Every opponent, I would say, not every player, every opponent, they take 1 damage for every card more than 4. So that's really annoying for them. Memory Jar, basically the sacrifices, and every player has to draw 7 cards. Yeah, that's basically it. Each player exiles and then like exiles all the cards in their hand and draws 7 cards. So if they have, if I have Underworld Dreams on the board, every player takes 7 damage automatically if I do this. So that's pretty awesome. I think the rest I already went with. Yep. Yep, that's it. Yes, it is a very annoying deck to play against. No creatures in this deck, a lot of anti-creature cards, and a lot of cards that won't let you do anything and just make you just sit there and take damage from drawing cards. So that's it. That's the Underworld Dreams deck. Play this against your friends if you want them to hate you. That's all I gotta say. Alright, the 5th deck I'm going to show you guys is the oldest deck I have. I actually created this way back when I was in high school, and it has not changed since. So all the cards I have here are basically from a really old set, and I haven't added any new cards yet. As you can see, none of these cards are modern. They're all old cards. But yeah, I still like this deck because it's very, very effective, and I never had to add any new cards to it because it's so effective. So anyways, this card is called my Threshold deck because it's based on a mechanic from the Odyssey set called Threshold. So I'm going to show you guys a lot of the cards here. It is a green-blue deck, 60 cards, you know. I played this a lot back when I was in high school against my friends, and it did pretty well. And what's amazing about it is this deck's also very cheap to play. There's almost no rares in this deck at all. It's full of commons and uncommons. So it's very easy to build, very cheap to build. All uses just old cards and stuff. So anyways, Wild Mongrel, okay. The mechanic of this deck is Threshold, which means that you have to have more than 7 or more cards in your graveyard for Threshold effects to activate. So this card is 2 mana for 2/2. Discard a card to make it get +1/+1, become the color of my choice. Doesn't sound very great, but the fact that you can discard more cards and play madness cards and you know, make your graveyard pool grow bigger and make threshold effects activate more easily. So this is a very good card in this deck. It makes all that happen. Wonder is an example of a card you would discard with this card. This card, as long as it's in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control are flying. So say I have this card in my hand, I discard it goes in my graveyard. Now all my creatures are flying. And the only way to get rid of it is to exile this card from my graveyard, which is very hard to do for a lot of decks. So yeah, it's a very good combination. You discard this card, he has flying, and he gets +1/+1. It becomes the color of your choice. This is the same thing to activate these mechanics, these discarding mechanics. Draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards for 1 mana. That's very efficient for this deck. Genesis, if it's in my graveyard, then I can pay 3 mana to return a creature from my graveyard to my hand. You know, so yeah, you can discard this and then you can get back your creatures every turn, you know, which is awesome. Frantic Search is basically Careful Study, but it's a free thing. Like, you draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, then you untap up to 3 lands. So it's 3 mana, it's more initial investment, but it's basically free when you play it, so that makes it awesome. Circular Logic is a Madness card. So you can play this card for this Madness cost, when you discard it from your hand. So if I have a Mongol here, the opponent plays something, I'll just discard this, pay just 1 mana and counter that spell, unless the controller pays 1 mana for each card in my graveyard, which should be a lot, because this deck focuses on putting cards in the graveyard. Basking Rootwalla is a pretty good card, by itself, I mean, it's not really great. It's but it's not bad either. It's just a zero. It's a 1 mana 1/1. 2 mana gets +2/+2. But the incredible thing about this one is that its madness cost is 0. So that means that if I have a Wild Mongrel, I can discard this one and goes into play for free. So, and I almost always just play it that way. Just the madness cost of 0 means that it's a free card. Like it's 0 mana for 1/1 that has this ability, which is awesome. Nimble Mongoose, 1 mana for 1/1, has Shroud. Threshold, this is the threshold mechanic here. As long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, your threshold, then this is basically a 3/3 Shroud for 1 mana, which is amazing. You know, that's amazing value. Even by today's standards, you know, this is an old card, but even by today's standards, that's pretty good. 1 mana for 3/3 Shroud. War of the Worm. Now, I usually in this deck, you almost never pay 7 mana to put a 6/6. That's not a very good investment, but you play the flashback cost for 4 mana. And 4 mana for a 6/6 is actually a really good deal, right? And you play flashback mechanic means you play this from your graveyard. So you discard this and then you pay 4 mana for 6/6 is usually how this works. War of the Worm. And Werebearer. 2 mana for 1/1. Not very good, but he adds mana to your pool, plus he becomes a 4/4 if you have Threshold. So yeah, 2 mana for 4/4 adds mana. So that becomes very good. Accumulated Knowledge is 2 mana. Okay, so what happens is you draw a card, then you draw a card equal to the amount of accumulated knowledge in your graveyard. So if you play this first time, you draw a card for 2 mana, which is not very good. Second time, you play this 2 mana, draw 2 cards, and then it becomes very good. The third time, 2 mana, draw 3 cards, 2 mana, draw 4 cards. That becomes really awesome value after the first time. As long as you know it's in your graveyard. Or you can discard these cards, you know, it's in your graveyard, then you pay 2 mana and then draw more the first time, which is what this deck's all about, putting cards in the graveyard. Yeah, all these, basically I have a lot of 4 of cards here, so I don't think I have many. Yeah, I don't think I have many like one. Oh, here's one, Rune Snag. Similar to Accumulated Knowledge, what I said is you counter target spell unless you pay 2 plus an additional 2 mana for each card, Rune Snag in your graveyard. So you can discard this, pay 2 mana, and then it's better than a mana leak, right? They had to pay 4 and then 6 and then 8, which they probably won't not be able to do. It's Rune Snag. I think I have one more card like this. Oh, here's another Yavimaya Hollow. You regenerate a creature for 1 mana. Yes, I think there's one more card like this. It's Ether Burst. Here it is. All the Ether Bursts are here at the freaking bottom of the deck. What's going on? Oh, it's sticky for some reason. I haven't played this in a while. Okay. Yeah, I've not played this deck in a long time. This is just like there as a time capsule almost. Since like 9th grade. Okay, 2 mana. Return X creatures to their owner's hands, where X is 1 plus the number of Ether Burst in all graves. So this is very similar to Rune Snag and Accumulated Knowledge. You play this the first time, you return 1. Second time, you return 2. Third time, you return 3. You know, once you discard this and you play this, then it compounds the effect, you know. So it's like a super unsummon in that sense. So yeah, that's it. That's a very simple deck, threshold deck. Very cheap to make, very easy to make. All commons and uncommons. There's only one rare Genesis, and it's not even like required. This is the only rare in this deck, and it's like not even a required card. So you can like make this deck with just commons and uncommons, which is very cool, and it's still very it's very effective. I can say it's a very effective deck, aggro deck. That's it. Yes, so that's a very cheap to make aggro deck. Alright, so deck number 6 I have for you is another aggro deck. This one is a 75 card. It's a Jund. It's called Jund deck. Jund is because it's the in Ravnica. No, is it Ravnica or Alara? Anyways, it's the color affiliation of green, white, and red. So this deck is green, white, and red. So I call it a Jund deck, and it has a lot of aggressive creatures in it. So yeah, let's just go through this deck. Okay, it has a lot of very efficient, mana-efficient creatures, like this one. 2 mana for 3/3. You can't cast it during the first, second, or third turn of the game, but it has flying and vigilance. So if it's past the if it's 4th turn or past the 4th turn, then it's basically 2 mana for 3/3 flying vigilance, which is really good. Then I have this card helps me search for those other colors, right? Mountain, forest, or plains. That's what this deck is based off of. Bloodberry Elf is really good. It's 4 mana for 3/2, which is not very good by itself, or with haste, which is not very good by itself. But the fact that it's Cascade, when I play this, Cascade is a very powerful mechanic. Where if I play this and then I reveal cards off the top of my deck until I reveal a card that costs less than this, so 3 mana card or 2 mana card or 1 mana card, and then you play it for free. So this is actually amazing. This Cascade mechanic is amazing. So you play this Bloodberry Elf, and if I see Sarah Avenger, oh, it comes out for free. So that's a really amazing card. Okay, Woolly Thoktar is 3 mana for 5/4. No abilities, but it doesn't really need any because 3 mana for 5/4 is very cost efficient. Flint Hoof Boar, 2 mana for 2/2. If I have a mountain, which I should, then it's a 3/3 for 2 mana. Plus it can gain haste for an additional 1 mana. So very mana efficient. This is 2 mana for 4/3. You can only cast it if you played another green spell. But say you play Flint Hoof Boar, and then you can play Talara's Battalion right after. And you've invested a total of 4 mana for 4/3 and a 3/3, and that's really awesome. And it's trample as well. That's a nice extra to have. But yeah, 2 mana for 4/3 is really good stats as well. Trample. Oh, this one is one of the best stats. 1 mana for 4/3. You know what's better than 2 mana for 4/3? 1 mana for 4/3. But yeah, when it comes to the battlefield, the opponent may have it deal 4 damage and then it dies. But you know, 1 mana for 4 damage is also really good. So it's either 1 mana for 4 damage or 1 mana for 4/3. Either way, you're getting your mana's worth. You know, it's just 1 mana. This is just a sack land to get anything. The deck. Lightning Bolt's really, really awesome removal card. 1 mana for 3 damage to any creature or player. Pretty simple. Okay, Lockstone Smiter. 3 mana for 4/4, can't be countered. And if anything causes me to discard it, I put it onto the battlefield. There's no really drawbacks with this card. Just 3 mana for 4/4, plus some extra abilities on top of that. Okay, so then I have my first Planeswalker here. Just because his abilities is a little bit synergistic with what I'm doing. So first one, look at the top card in my library. If it's a creature card, I put it in my hand. Second ability, something I control fights another creature, which is better because I can choose which creature I want. Basically, fighting is like choosing which creature can block you, essentially, when you're attacking, right? So that's pretty cool. He's only 3 mana, Planeswalker too. Okay, Wild Nakata, 1 mana. And once you have Mountain of Plains, basically once I have my color base out on the battlefield, once I have my Mountain and Plains in play, then it's a 3/3 for 1 mana, which is really, really efficient. So 1 mana for 3/3 basically when you have all the colors that you have in your deck. Vengevine, 4 mana for 3 haste. If I cast a spell, if it's a second creature spell, I get it back from my battlefield. So it's one of the higher costed cards in my deck, but it's really good if you play a lot of creatures, which this deck does. Okay, Path to Exile. This is a really good card. A lot of people play this card in pretty much anything that splashes white. Yeah, just 1 mana, you get rid of any creature. You exile any creature. The controller gets a basic land card, but that's a very small drawback for getting rid of any creature, from a Darksteel Colossus to like Emrakul, you know. So that's really, really awesome. What else do I have? Fleece Main Line, okay, 2 mana for 3/3, already very good. That's already Flint Hoof Boar, you know, powered up. But I can pay 5 mana to make it become 4/4, and make it have a hexproof and indestructible, which means that it's pretty much impossible to kill. If something has hexproof and indestructible, the only way to remove it from the game would be to have a card like exile all creatures on the battlefield, or return all creatures on the battlefield to their owner's hands, and that would be the only way to get rid of it. Otherwise, it's like impossible to kill it, right? You can't target it, and you can't kill it with damage. So yeah, hexproof and indestructible is that's a really deadly combination there. That's like impossible for most decks to get rid of. Well, I think all the other cards I've already gone over. Oh, neither Reliquary here too. Three mana for 2/2, but there's +1/+1 for each land card in my graveyard. I have a lot of sack lands here. Then I can sacrifice a Forest of Plains, search my library for any land card, and I put it on the battlefield. Another card that grows with time. And very efficient creatures. I have another Planeswalker here, Sarkhan Vol. It's 4 mana for first ability. All my creatures gain +1/+1 and gain haste, which is really good for an aggro deck. Second one, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Obviously another really good ability. So and then the last one's like 5/4/4 dragons. So yeah, this is a really good card for an aggro deck like this one. And it's in the colors I'm splashing. So okay, now another Planeswalker, Exonago, same mana cost, 3 counters instead of 4. First abilities, I'll add X mana. So I get add X mana to my mana pool, X number of creatures I control, which is pretty useful. And then 0 second mana to put a 2/2 creature token with haste onto the battlefield, which is also really good. So yeah, those 2 cards are good for aggro. And I have Garruk Relentless here. It's a really good card. Deals 3 damage. Target creature or player that clearly deals damage equal power. Puts 0 mana, put a 2/2 wolf green creature into wolf creature in the battlefield. And then it transforms, put a 1/1 wolf creature death touch. Sacrifice my creature to search my library for any creature and put it in my hand. So yeah, really good. Oh, it's not going to transform often, but when it does, it's really good. And even if it's not transformed, it's really good. Okay, what do I have left? Wiltleaf Liege, I think, is really good. 4 mana for 4/4. Other green creatures I control get +1/+1. Other white creatures I control get +1/+1. So it pumps up all my other creatures, and then if something causes me to discard it, I put it into play, which is great. So yeah, 4 mana for 4/4, also very efficient. Alright, and there's a few other cards I want to show you guys. Okay, Browbeat. Browbeats are very similar to the Vexing Devil card. It makes the opponent choose a choice. They can take damage or make you play it, basically. But this one's 3 mana. Basically, any player can have 5 damage dealt to him, or if no one wants to have 5 damage dealt to him, then you draw 3 cards. But just like Vexing Devil, this card is really good. Makes your opponent choose. Either way is really good. 3 mana to draw 3 cards is really awesome. 3 mana to deal 5 damage is also really awesome. So, I mean, think about Lava Axe. It's like 5 mana to do 5 damage, right? But this one is Vexing Devil is like 1 mana to do 4 damage. This one's 3 mana, draw 3 cards to deal 5 damage, Really good card. Then we have Huntmaster of the Fells, also a really good card. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield or transforms, I get a 2/2 green wolf creature and I gain 2 life. And then every turn, if no spells were cast, and I transform. And then what's the transformed form? Well, it's this one, Ravager of the Falls, 4/4 trample. When this one transforms, it deals 2 damage and 2 damage to a creature. 2 damage to an opponent and 2 damage to a creature that person has. And then it keeps transforming back and forth. And every time it transforms, it does stuff. So it's awesome investment for 4 mana. Also, I have Master of the Wild Hunt, 4 mana for 3/3. Every upkeep, I get a 2/2 wolf creature. I can tap to make those wolf creatures deal damage to something. Kind of like fighting, so that's really awesome. I have Silverblade Paladin, 3 mana for 2/2. Soul Bond means that I can choose to have this pair with another creature when it comes to play. And then when this is paired, that means that both creatures have double strike. And double strike is a really powerful ability, So say I have a Knight of the Reliquary, Silverblade Paladin, I pair with it, and this is just a 2/2, let's say, or 3/3. Let's say this is a 3/3, right? Play this one, at 1 land card in my graveyard. It's a 3/3, I pair it together. This is double strike, and this is double strike. So this deals 4 damage, this does 6 damage now. So that's really awesome. So yeah, that's it. That's my Jund deck. It's very aggressive, a lot of very efficient creatures in this deck. And yeah, 75 cards. So anyways, that's it for the Jund deck, the red, green, white deck. Alright, so this is my 7th deck. I'm going to show you guys. This is my equipment deck, my white weenie equipment deck. White weenie is the nickname given to a deck which has a lot of efficient white creatures in it, small white creatures. This one uses equipment a lot, which is why I call it that. So first I have a piece of equipment, Captain's Claws. This is the newest one. Kind of experimenting with this one. I used to have Shuko in here. I'm gonna try Captain's Claws instead. This one gives difference is this one costs 2 mana. So this one is a slight mana investment, but yeah. Anyways, equipped creature gets +1/+0. Whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 creature token into the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Kind of similar to what is it, Brimaz or Hero Bladehold. But this is on equipment instead. I don't think anything in this deck costs more than 2 mana. Yeah, everything in this deck costs 1 or 2 mana. There's nothing that costs more than 2 mana, which is pretty amazing for this deck. That tells you how aggro this deck is, how fast it is. Basically, it plays a bunch of equipment and equip cards, and yeah, I think that, yeah, I don't think it has anything that costs more than 2 mana, which is really fast. Okay, so Captain's Claws, 2 mana. Whenever attacks, gets a 1/1 creature token, tapped and attacking. They got Auriok Edgewright, 2 mana, 2/2. Metalcraft means if I have 3 or more artifacts, so this one has double strike as long as I control 3 or more artifacts, and I have some artifact lands in here as well, which helps up the count. So yeah, 2 mana for 2/2 double strike would be really nice. It's really efficient. 1 mana for 1/1 as long as the equip gets +1/+1 is flying. So yes, as soon as I equip it, it becomes a 2/2 flying, plus whatever bonuses the equipment gives. But the fact that it has evasion makes it really nice, and yeah, really a threat to the opponent's life total. It makes it harder to harder to block and stuff. So it has evasion. It's only 1 mana, right? It becomes at least a 2/2 flying. With that, Pure Steel Paladin, 2 mana for 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield, I draw a card. That definitely helps with this deck because this deck is full of cheap creatures and cheap spells. So you definitely want to keep drawing, or else it runs out of gas. You got to keep drawing. And then when I have 3 or more artifacts, equipment have equip 0. That's really useful. That means I can shift my equipment around different creatures. I can put all the equipment on one creature. I can distribute them. So if they have equip 0, that's awesome. So this card is pretty fundamental to this deck. Keep drawing cards, and then I shift my equipment around for free, which is really nice. Ancient Den is an artifact land. Artifact lands are probably some of the most broken cards in Magic. They have no drawback, basically, almost. The only drawback is being non-basic, but yeah, I mean, basically, it doesn't come into play tapped, nothing. It's just a plains that also counts as an artifact. So yeah, it's really cheap. Core Duelist is 1 mana for 1/1 as long as it's equipped as double strike. Pretty simple. As you equip it, double strike deals double damage. So really efficient with equipment, as you can imagine. Bone Splitter is this equipment, 1 mana, equip 1. Equip creature gets +2/+0. Very cheap equipment. You can imagine putting on like this guy. He becomes a 3/1 double strike, deals 6 damage. That's 6 damage per turn with an initial mana investment of just 2. That's amazing. This one would become a 4/2. No, 4/2. Yeah, this would become a 4/2 flying, right? And this will have double strike here. Yeah, so like does a lot of damage. Under Core Duelist, Swords to Plowshares I have in here as well. Very efficient, cheap removal. Remove exiles any creature for 1 mana. I don't really care about the life gain, but it exiles any problematic creature for 1 mana. Then got Knight of Metagrade, 2 mana for 2/2 first strike lifelink. Generally just a very good efficient card. Nothing to do with equipment, actually. It's just a really efficient card here. 2 mana, 2/2 lifelink, first strike. Auriok Steel Shaper. Okay, 2 mana for 1/1. Equip costs 1 less. And that pretty much makes it free for a lot of my equipment, like the Bone Splitter, for example. That makes it free. Captain's Claws becomes free. Yeah, a lot of my equipment costs exactly 1 to equip. So as long as it's equipped, soldiers and knights I control get +1/+1. So as you can see, a lot of it's a knight, soldier, soldier, knight, soldier, soldier. So basically a lot of the cards I have in here in this deck, I think almost all of them are just soldiers or knights. So as soon as you equip this guy, it pumps up all my other guys, and then a lot of them have double strike and stuff, which makes them, incredibly powerful for their mana cost. Yes, so Oryak Steel Shippers are really nice in this deck. Let's see what else I have. Auto Recruit, 1 mana, 1/1, becomes a 3/3 when I have 3 or more artifacts, or 3 or more equipment, So, yeah, 1 mana for 3/3 is awesome. And it's also Soldier, of course. What else do we have? Oh, Cranial Plating. So this is a equip 1 as well. Equip creature with +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So this one gets boosted by all the artifact lands and other equipment I have. And yeah, what can I say? It's a really dangerous card, especially on something with double strike. It kills an opponent really, really fast. And you have Cranial Plating on it. Basilisk Collar, equip 2. This is the only equipment I have that's more than that's a equip cost of more than 1. So I'm thinking about, should I keep this one in or not? Just because it has equip of 2, which is a little bit more than I wanted. But equip creature has Death Touch and Lifelink. I guess if I have Pure Steel Paladin, it doesn't matter because it's equip 0. But yeah, Death Touch or Lifelink, really nice to have. So if I have like a lot of power boost and stuff like Cranial Plating, then I gain a lot of life. So Basilisk Collar, do that. That's why I think I only have 2 in there, 2 Basilisk Collars. I don't have many of it. I think the rest of them I already go over, yeah. This deck, yeah, it's only 60 cards, but yeah. It's, as you can see, it's just full of really cheap creatures that have something to do with metalcraft or being equipped. And they just do a ton of damage very fast because nothing in this deck costs more than 2 mana. Everything costs 1 or 2 mana, so yeah. That's it. That's my White Weenie equipment deck full of soldiers and knights with equipment. Kills the opponent very fast as long as they don't deal with the board. As long as they don't have a board clear, I guess I would probably win within the first few turns of the game. That's it. Alright, this is the 8th deck I'm going to show you guys. This deck is a deck I don't actually play with because it is a combo deck. And yeah, this deck kills the opponent basically on the 2nd or 3rd turn, and yeah, because of how deadly it is and how fast it is, I don't really play this deck anymore. It's mostly just an exhibition deck. I used to show people like, oh, this is the power of Magic the Gathering combos. This is how quickly I can kill you with something like this. It's a cool interaction, but yeah, not very fun to play with because the opponent dies so fast and everything. But it is an interesting thing to show people, like the power of a very interesting combo, I think. And this combo is pretty old. I think it's about 8 years old. It's called Hulk Flash. So this deck is called Hulk Flash, and I think it came out around, it's pretty old ones. It came out 8 or 9 years ago, and I still haven't really changed that much. I think Jetaxis Probe, yeah, Jetaxis Probe was the last card that was added in here. But anyways, why don't I show you guys how this deck works? It does revolve around this card here, Protean Hulk. This is the namesake of the deck, is Protean Hulk. When it's 7 mana for 6/6. When it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, search my library for any number of creature cards with total net converted mana cost 6 or less, and put them all into the battlefield, all into play. So yeah, this is a very powerful effect, and it's very abusive. It can be abused, and so a lot of players abused it back in the day. This combo is pretty much banned if you played in a tournament these days, but for casual play, anything goes. So why don't I show you guys how this combo works? So 60 cards, right? And it doesn't have a lot of lands. It has a lot of tutoring cards. So this would be a sample hand that you get from this deck. Okay, and it does rely on the interaction of several creatures. Okay, so say this is my, I don't care if it's like 1st turn or 2nd turn or whatever, right? Say I go first, so I put down this land, this island. Lotus Petal is a very good, interesting card. It's 0 mana. It's basically 0 mana to add 1 mana of any color to my mana pool. Yeah, it's 1/3 of a Black Lotus, and that makes this card very powerful as well. But yeah, 0 mana, I can sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color to my mana pool. Okay, so I played that. Okay, and then I have this creature, Body Snatcher, which I don't really need because this is probably part of this is one creature I could fetch with a Hulk, but I don't need it in my hand right now. Street Wraith is a free card basically. The cycling means discard this card to draw another card, and the cycling is just pay 2 life. There's no mana cost associated with it. So all I have to do is this means you can play with 4 less cards basically, because since the cycling doesn't take any mana, you just get to the cards that you want faster. So this makes it a really good card for combo decks. So pay 2 life. Oh, I'm at 18. I don't care about that. Life total really doesn't matter in a combo deck, since as long as you're above 1, as long as you're above 0, you know, as long as you're at least at 1 life and stuff and above, as long as you're not dead, then you can still kill the opponent. It's the most important thing. Okay, so I'm gonna need my other combo piece. This basically allows me to get my Protean Hulk. This is 0 mana. It's search my library for a green creature card. It's 0 mana, but it's green. It's like yeah, because you know it doesn't have any colored mana cost on it. But search your library for a green creature card, reveal it, and put it into my hand. Then shuffle my library. This is to fetch Protean Hulk. And then at the beginning, next upkeep, pay 4 mana. If you don't, you lose the game. That doesn't matter because you generally win on the same turn you play this. So yes. Anyways, I'm gonna use my 1 mana. I can Brainstorm. That's really a good card also to draw cards, 3 cards per hand. But I don't need that because I'll Mystical Tutor instead and just get the card directly. So search my library for an instant. Interrupted Mana Source don't exist anymore. This is an old card, but the new reprinted Mystical Tutor should say just an instant or sorcery, right? Search your library for an instant or sorcery and put it on top of your library. Okay. I'm gonna fetch my other combo card with this, and that card is going to be Flash, right? So I showed you guys Hulk already. So the other part of the namesake Hulk Flash is this card called Flash. So what does this Flash card do? It's 2 mana, instant. Choose a creature card from your hand and put that creature into play, into the battlefield. Then you pay that creature's cost, creature's casting cost, reduced by up to 2. And if you can't, it goes into the graveyard. And this is the card that makes it all happen. Just 2 mana. That's all you really need for this combo to work. Just 2 mana. Put on top of my deck, right? And pass my turn. Next turn happens, turn 2. I think you can probably do a turn 1 if you have a Simian Spirit Guide in your hand, but I don't have Simian Spirit Guides in this deck right now. I'd rather just value the consistency. So I'm okay with killing the opponent on the second turn rather than the first turn. Yes, so now Flash, choose a creature card from your hand, put that creature into play. Alright, so the Brainstorm, you know, really good card. Draw 3 cards, then take 2 cards from your hand, put them on top of your library. You know, it's basically like digging 3 cards in. Really good drawing mechanic. I don't need it right now. I have Summoner's Pack, so I'm going to do this. If I don't pay 4 mana next turn, I lose the game, but it's okay, I'm going to win this turn. So, 0 mana, search my library for the Hulk. It's a green creature card, right? Put it in my hand. It goes in my hand, right? Now, I'm going to use Flash. Pay 2 mana, 1 mana, sacrifice this. Flash. I'm going to put my Protean Hulk into play. Right? Oh, I can't pay the casting cost reduced by up to 2, so it goes into the graveyard. And I search my library for any number of creature cards with total mana cost 6 or less and put it into the battlefield when this dies. So the thing about Flash is that the effect still happens when this thing dies because it's put into the battlefield and then it gets put into the graveyard. So this effect still happens. So any number of creature cards with mana cost 5 or less, right? Okay. So what I'm going to get back is I have 2 cards I can do. Okay. So 2 cards I can do. These 2 cards, total converted mana cost 6, right? 5, 1 mana. This one, Carrion Feeder, sacrifice a creature. That's the main ability that I want to use here. Sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Carrion Feeder. 5 mana, Karmic Guide. It has Echo. During my next upkeep, I have to pay its casting cost or it dies, but it doesn't matter because I'm winning this turn. When it goes into the battlefield, choose a creature card in my graveyard and put that creature into the battlefield. All right. So this comes out, and then because of this ability, I get my Protean Hulk back into play, right? And now I'm going to use this ability to sacrifice my Protean Hulk again, triggering it a second time, right? I guess so. I triggered it a second time. I use this ability, sacrifice a creature, trigger this one a second time. So I get to search again for any number of creature cards with converted mana cost 6 or less. Okay, so then I got these two. This is right, 1 mana, 5 mana. It's total converted mana cost 6. This one, sacrifice a land. Target creature can't be a target of spells or abilities, or in modern terms, some creatures that you control has Shroud until end of turn. This is to prevent anything from being targeted by an instant. So say the opponent has, say they have something that they want to stop this combo with or something, or they want to target this guy with. Well, I can just sacrifice this land. Oh, yeah, Shroud, you can't target it, sorry. Okay, Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker. This is the thing I generally want to target this thing with, actually. So yeah, this is the combo breaker here. It's 2/2 haste. I can tap to put a creature token into play that's a copy of a non-legendary creature I control. That creature has haste. Sacrifice that at end of turn. Okay, so this is the combo breaker here. The fact that it can tap and create a token copy of a creature I have that has haste. That's amazing, right? So I want to sacrifice a land. If opponent wants to target this, they use the Swords to Plowshares or whatever, then I can sacrifice a land to make sure that this thing is protected from instants that might kill it. Because this is the most important card here. All right, now this thing has haste, so I can tap it right away. So I can tap it, create a copy of Karmic Guide, and then a copy of Karmic Guide comes into play, right? This is not legendary. Another copy comes into play, which means I can bring another creature card from my graveyard and put into play, which is going to be the Protean Hulk again. And you know what's going to happen again? I'm going to sacrifice it again, and I'm going to search my library for another combo here, another card here. Okay. And that card is going to be Sky Hussar. This is 5 mana. So the important thing is this one. When it comes into play, untap all creatures you control. Yep, and that's the combo here. Comes into play, Kiki-Jiki gets untapped, right? This is the combo, right? Now this combo, put a creature copy into play that's a copy of a non-legendary creature I control, non-legendary. And that thing has haste, right? The thing is, once I create a copy of this, this will untap this. And then I can basically go infinite here. Like I can go like do. I can keep making copies of this guy. Every time a copy of this comes into play, it untaps Kiki-Jiki. And then he can keep doing it. So I have infinite amount of Sky Hussars, and they all have haste. Which means that the opponent is basically dead on the second turn. Now, isn't that exciting? So that's the combo here, Hulk Flash combo. Yeah, I guess these two cards, I guess, and that's it really. Kills the opponent on second turn, third turn-ish, I guess, if you're not that lucky. But you can use a Brainstorm to fetch another tutor. But yeah, that's the combo. I've already gone over these cards. Snap is to get rid of any troublesome creatures. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Then you untap 2 lands, which means you really did not use any mana at all to do that, just to get rid of any troublesome creatures. Ponder is a card that gets to your tutors or your combo cards faster, right? Kind of like Brainstorm. So Ponder is also a semi-Brainstorm. Gitaxian Probe is free, basically, because this is can be paid with either blue mana or 2 life. You look at target player's hand and draw a card. So basically, this is another cycling card. You pay 2 life, use this, draw a card, and it's free. It basically lets you play, gets you to your combo pieces faster. Preordain's the same thing, similar thing to Ponder and Brainstorm. You get to your combo pieces faster. Okay, this is the one I didn't use, but this one you would play, I guess, if you didn't have your other combo pieces. Coming to play, you discard a creature card. So I guess you would discard. Yeah, I guess you would discard Protean Hulk, or if you have Protean Hulk already into the you would like discard Protean Hulk or something, and then you would sacrifice it to Carrion Feeder or something. When it's put into the graveyard, then you remove from the game, then you return the Protean Hulk back into play, or you return the Karmic Guard back into play. Basically, you would use this if you have a combo piece already in your hand. The thing is, so if you have a combo piece in your hand, then you can't really play it with the Protean Hulk, right? So say, like I said, you'd have to have really, the Karmic Guide is pretty essential, right? Or the Kiki Jiki, they're pretty essential, right? If I have it in my hand, there's no way I can fetch it with the Protean Hulk. So then I get Body Snatcher. Body Snatcher comes into play, I discard this because I have it in my hand, and then I sacrifice this thing. And then I probably with Carrion Feeder. Carrion Feeder is only 1 mana anyway, so I can definitely play that one even if this one was in my hand. But yeah, then I get sacrifice this to put this thing back into play if it was in my hand, right? Anyways, this is used if you already have one of these guys in your hand and you have no way to fetch it with Protean Hulk. Then you use Body Snatcher and you turn it back to play. Alright, and I think that's pretty much it. These two are pretty essential. You would also use Body Snatcher. Or you use Brainstorm, Brainstorm can also help you return those to your deck. That's it. That's the Hulk Flash combo. I don't use this deck very often. It just kills way too fast. But it's very interesting as an exhibition kind of deck to wow people, I guess. Wow, you kill someone on the second, third turn, like that. And pretty interesting combo. I think I showed this combo before with Disciple of the Vaults and Shifting Walls and stuff, but this particular version uses less cards, so you can put in more support cards. The Disciple of the Vault version, you'd need to takes up a lot more space. So it's a different version. And that's it for Hulk Flash. Alright, this is the 9th deck I have. This is the token deck. I call it elf tokens because most of the tokens I make are elf related. So this one just focuses on making lots and lots of tokens as much as possible. So let's go through it. First I have Pendelhaven. It's a very cool land. It doesn't come into play tapped even, so there's not that much drawback to this land. It's like a forest, adds green. Doesn't come into play tapped, but it has an additional property of making a 1/1 creature get +1/+2 until end of turn. So you can use it to buff up some of the elves in this deck, a lot of which are 1/1s. Just to make them survive, make them a little bit more tougher if they're threatened by, by another creature. So good protective land. Wolfskull's Shaman, one of my token cards. 2 mana, 2/2. Beginning of my upkeep, I look at the top card in my library, and if it's an elf or a shaman, then I get a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So this is a token generation card. So if it's an elf or a shaman, of which a lot of creatures in this deck are, then I get a 2/2 green wolf. Okay, Imperious Perfect, really good card. It's a 3 mana 2/2, buffs up my other elves, and then 1 mana tap, get a 1/1, well essentially a 2/2 elf warrior creature token. So this generates tokens every turn, which are at least 2/2s. So this is a really good card for continuous token generation as well. I have Cool Forest right here. Let's see what else we have. Land of Elves, this is one pretty famous elf. Just 1 mana for 1/1, tap, add green to your mana pool. Pretty simple and very, very versatile. The fact that it's only 1 mana, makes it very, very good value. So just 1 mana, tap, add 1, speeds up everything. Elfish Mystic is the same as Llanowar Elf. It's the exact same, except this one is also Druid. That's pretty much the only difference. I don't know. I guess they didn't want to reprint Llanowar Elves, so they gave it another name. Oilreef the Vastwood comes into play tapped, but you get a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. That's the ability here. This is really useful for a token deck like this one. When you're producing a bunch of tokens a turn, and then that you can pump them up by +1/+1 counter on each of them, that makes a pretty big difference. So, or you can even like pump up like a Llanowar Elf tier 2/2, and that can make a difference too. So this land comes in handy for a token deck like this. Buffs up all my creatures when they come into play. What else do I have? Oh, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. 3-mana, 3 counters, Planeswalker. The first ability, put a 0/1 green plant creature token. Second ability, play a +1/+1 counter each creature you control. I think those two are pretty useful for this deck. I have a lot of creatures, and it creates. She creates her own tokens as well. So nice to have. Plus, it's only 3 mana, so cheap Planeswalker. Sap-Wheeling Symbiosis is a really cool card. 4 mana, you put a 1/1 green creature token into play for each creature you control. So this pretty much doubles all my creature tokens. Yeah, it doubles all my creatures. I get a creature token for each creature I control. So that's what it does. Adds a lot of tokens. Essence Warden makes me gain a lot of life. It's 1 mana, and then another creature comes into play, gain 1 life. When I'm creating a ton of tokens like this, I can gain a lot of life. So really, really useful. So I have Squirrel Nest. 3 mana, I put it on a land, and then the land has tap, put a 1/1 green squirrel creature token in play. This is so useful because lands are so hard to destroy in comparison to creatures. So yeah, you had to have, like most people, I would say like pretty much every deck packs some creature destruction, but not a lot of decks actually pack land destruction. So yeah, this makes it very hard to remove this enchantment, or you can use a naturalize or whatever, but still, it's very hard to remove, and your land can now create creature tokens. So do that every turn. Wirewood Hivemaster. Whenever another elf comes into the battlefield, I get a 1/1 green insect creature token. So because a lot of these are elves, then I get a lot of insects in addition to them. So more tokens come into the battlefield with that. Spawning Pit. Okay, it's 2 mana artifact. I sacrifice a creature, get a charge counter, and then remove 2 charge counters to put a 2/2 spawn artifact creature token, which can be sacrificed then to Spawning Pit to put another charge counter. So it basically almost fuels itself just by itself. And the fact that you can do this at any time, like, yeah, this just produces like I would say this makes all your tokens that die produce another token for every 2 tokens that died. So that's really useful. You can sacrifice a creature anytime. So if a token is almost dead anyways, you would just sacrifice it all the time, you know? Creature gets lethal damage, sacrifice it. Creature dies, sacrifice it, you know? You can do that at any time. You put a charge counter, and then you can fuel those charge counters into even more tokens, you know? So you can like, squirrel dies, insect dies, elf token dies, they fuel this thing, which gives me even more tokens, spawn creature tokens. So, and then the spawn creature tokens can fuel even more spawn creature tokens. So that's crazy. This one, Parallel Lives. If I have to put 1 or more tokens, then I get double that many. This is essentially doubling season, half the effect of doubling season. But doubling season is like way more expensive because people generally want to have that effect that doubles the amount of counters because Planeswalkers are played so often, and other cards like that make use of counters. But yeah, this is still pretty useful. In fact, put a 1 or more tokens, it puts twice that many tokens, so I double all my tokens. And if you look at cards like Sapling Symbiosis, this one essentially quadruples the amount of tokens the amount of creatures I have, right? This one already doubles my creatures, and then this one would like quadruple it, would double the double, you know, it would quadruple it. So Beacon of Creation, I get a 4 mana, I get a green insect creature token for each forest I control. So yeah, if you're playing all forest and you play this, you get at least 4. And then the great thing about this is it goes back into your deck, so you can reuse it later. So it's a reusable kind of effect, which is great. Garruk Relentless. I use this card because it's a Planeswalker that you can put a 2/2 green wolf creature token in the battlefield for free every turn. And it can deal damage if it needs to. Target creature, yeah. But mainly I use it for the token effect, the free generating token effect every turn. Garruk Wildspeaker also generates tokens. You can tap 2 lands, so you can reuse 2 mana every turn. Or you can get a 3/3 creature token beast creature token, and it has overrun ability to finish the opponent off when you have a lot of creature tokens, so that's really useful. Okay, what else? Skull Clamp. This one's really good. I think this might be banned in Modern as well. The main effect of this is equip 1. When it puts in a graveyard, you draw 2 cards. So because a lot of tokens are 1/1s, a lot of tokens that are produced are 1/1s, you kill it with this thing, you equip it, it dies, and then you draw 2 cards. So basically, it's paying 1 mana to draw 2 cards, which is insane. So that's why Skull Clamp is so powerful. You would use it, it's basically like activated ability, 1 mana, draw 2 cards, sacrifice a creature. Yeah, 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, right? It's just crazy. Second Harvest, 4 mana. For each token, put a token that's a copy of that permanent. So this is essentially Parallel Lives, but it's an instant version of that. But Parallel Lives is a static effect, right? If an effect will put 1 or more tokens. This one just straight up doubles the amount of tokens. So that makes it very similar to Sapling Symbiosis. It pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much Sapling Symbiosis. It just doubles the amount of tokens you have. But it not only doubles the amount of creatures, it doubles the amount of tokens you have of other permanents as well. Not that I have any in this deck, but it's very useful it's very nice to know that. So yeah, that's basically doubling the amount of tokens. More and more tokens. Earthcraft, 2 mana. Tap an untapped creature you control, untap target basic land. That's really powerful. So yep, so when I have a bunch of tokens on the field, I can basically use them as mana. So that's essentially what that means. I can tap any untapped creature I control, and then they basically give me 1 mana each because they untap a land I have. Or in the case of Scroll Nest, that means it's an infinite combo because so a land with Scroll Nest taps to put a 1/1 green scroll creature token. Then that 1/1 scroll creature token can tap to untap this land, which has a Scroll Nest on it. And then that land can tap again. And then the creature produced by that land can untap this land. So it can go like infinitely. So if you have Scroll Nest and Earthcraft, it's an infinite combo. Infinite squirrels, I mean. So that's pretty cool to have. And if you have Essence Warden, that's infinite life. And if you have Skull Clamp, that's infinite cards. You can try your whole deck. Yeah, so Master of the Wild Hunt, I have this one. Every upkeep, I get a 2/2 Green Wolf creature token. I think that's a little bit slow compared to some of the other cards in this deck, but I do have other cards that produce wolves, like the Wolf Skull Shaman. So yeah, anyways, 2/2 wolves every turn for this guy. Another Earthcraft, 2 of them. Spawning Pit. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, a bunch of cards to produce tons and tons of tokens and gradually overwhelm the opponent with tokens. And that's it. Yep, that's the elf token deck. All right. All green, 60 cards. Okay, this is my 10th deck. This one, I don't play that much, but sometimes I do. It is a green-white 75 card deck focused on creatures that persist and creatures that are hard to kill, and a lot of protection. Oh no, I don't think it's green-white. Sorry guys, it's just white. Yeah, it's an all-white 75 card deck. It focuses on protecting yourself and protecting your creatures. So what does that mean? Let's go through it. This is what I mean by creatures that are hard to kill and hard to remove. This card, 2 mana artifact, when it dies, when it's put into graveyard from play, so when it dies, I remove from the game with 3 time counters and it gains suspend. So it means that it's suspended for 3 turns and then it comes back as a 4/4. Comes into play with 3 +1/+1 counters if you didn't play it from your hand. So that means when this thing dies, it comes back as a 4/4. And then if it's killed, if it dies again, then it'll suspend itself and come back as a 4/4 3 turns later. So this thing will never really be killed unless you exile it. If you just kill it the usual way through lethal damage, then this thing will never actually die. It'll keep coming back again and again and again as a 4/4. So that's why I have this deck is built around creatures that are hard to remove. This is one of them. Power Conduit. So this one's a 2 mana artifact. I can remove a counter from anything I have to put a charge counter on an artifact or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, you'll see why this one is useful for keeping my creatures later. Wait, why do I have this in here? Godless Shrine. Do I have black cards in here? No. Okay. I think this is from another deck. Okay. Don't need that. Okay, Journey to Nowhere. This one, 2 mana. Yeah, 2 mana just to exile a target creature. So this is just a removal card. Yeah. 2 mana, enchantment, exiles target creature. Kajana Outpost. When it comes to play, sacrifice a plains or this thing dies. So this really, yeah, it replaces the plains. The important thing about this land is a 2 mana, tap, put a soldier creature token to play, treat this as a 1/1. So remember how I said this deck focuses on keeping creatures on the battlefield? Well, this is a land. Lands are really hard to kill, right? And this land produces 1/1 creatures, and you can produce 1/1 creatures every turn. So that makes it hard for the opponent to deal with. Eventually, you know, I keep having 1/1 creatures from this land. And Safehold Elite. Okay, this is why I have the Power Conduit. Okay. So this one, 2 mana. This is hybrid colors, so I can use white. I don't have any green in this deck. 2/2 persist. So when this dies, it comes back into play with a -1/-1 counter on it. And if it has a -1 counter, then it cannot persist anymore. If it doesn't, then it'll keep persisting. So it's basically when you play persist cards, it's a 2/2. This one's a 2/2. It dies, comes back as a 1/1, as a -1 counter, and then it dies with a -1 counter on it, right? But when you have Power Conduit, you can actually remove the -1 counter and put like a +1/+1 counter on this one or another creature. And when you do that, that means it can persist again, right? And in this way, this creature can basically persist infinitely unless they remove one of these guys, well, yeah, unless they destroy this artifact or exile this creature. Because, like, if this thing dies, I'll just remove the -1 counter. It'll persist again next time, and I'll just keep removing the -1 counter. It'll keep persisting. It'll never actually die, you know, as long as this, you know, this combo is out. So that's why I have this card in here, Power Conduit and Persist cards. Make sure that your creatures never die. Really, really hard to get rid of. Orin Reef is the same. It's the same kind of concept. Put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. Combined with Persist, which puts a -1 counter. If you put a +1/+1 counter on a -1 counter, it cancels out. So this thing really has 0 counters when you use this build. So this is the same thing. As long as you have this card and a Persist creature, this will never die. It will come back as a -1 counter, and you can just cancel it out by putting a +1/+1 counter on it. Then I have Avacyn Guardian Angel. It's a 5 mana, 5/4 flying vigilance. 2 mana, prevent all damage that be dealt to another creature by source of color of your choice, and then prevent all damage that be dealt to player this turn. So, yeah, say I have my elf token deck right here. It's full of green creatures, you know, and I produced infinite squirrel tokens using the Earthcraft Squirrel Nest combo. Well, just using 7 mana, I can just say, oh, every green thing you have does no damage to me, and that means that this deck is now screwed. It has no way to remove this angel, and I'll just do that every turn. Oh, you attack with your infinite horde of squirrel tokens. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll just say green sources can't do damage to me this turn, and I'll just do that every turn. So then, yeah, it's impossible for the opponent to kill me. Heartmender. Really interesting card. 4 mana, 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a -1/-1 counter from each creature you control. So this basically is the same thing as the Orin Reef or the Power Conduit. It basically does the same thing, except it itself is a persist creature, which means that when this comes back as a persist creature, it'll automatically remove a -1/-1 from itself in addition to other persist creatures. So this means that by itself, this one is really hard to kill because, yeah, actually, when this thing dies, comes back, it removes it from itself. So, yeah, the opponent basically has to do damage to this twice in a single turn to remove it. So they have to deal damage to it with a creature, or they have to burn it twice or something. And because otherwise, it'll just keep regenerating itself and coming back. And it helps my other persist creatures too. So yeah, by itself, this one will keep coming back every turn, unless the opponent does damage to it twice in one turn. Oblivion Ring is kind of like Journey to Nowhere, except it removes anything, not any non-land permanent, not just a creature. That one's just a creature. This one's 1 mana more, but it removes anything from the battlefield, any non-land from the battlefield. Elspeth Knight Errant is very cool. I think maybe I have this one is I can keep making tokens with this guy, with her. I can keep making tokens with her. I can buff up a creature if I need to finish off an opponent, or even if I get to this one, everything I have is indestructible, which means which means they can't be killed by lethal damage, which is really good for this deck. This deck focuses on being hard to kill, right? Creatures that are hard to kill, hard to remove. This one, at the beginning of each opponent, so this is more of a multiplayer card, but beginning of each opponent's end step, if I didn't lose life, then I get quest counter. I think this is used in multiplayer a lot. It's a really cheap card in multiplayer. Okay, so if I didn't lose life, then I get a quest counter in it, and then 2 mana, put a 4/4 white angel creature token flying. If it has 4 or more quest counters, which means that if I didn't lose life for 4 turns, then I can now pay 2 mana to make 4/4s. And remember, this thing is just, it's an activated ability that doesn't tap, which means as long as I have mana, I can make 4/4 white angel creature tokens. So say I have 8 mana, then that means I can make 4/4 white angel creature tokens a turn. So that's a ridiculous ability, right? So this enchantment's really powerful. Yeah, you can basically just spend all your mana every turn making 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying, and that's going to overwhelm the opponent eventually. And that's good for this deck because it's really hard for the opponent to deal damage to me in this deck because I have so many creatures that come back to life. Okay, Kitchen Finks is another persist creature. I have this in like 4 or 5 decks. It's a really good card. But yeah, it comes into play, I gain 2 life, and it has persist. So it combos with my other persist cards like Heartmender, or Power Conduit. It combos with all those cards too, in addition to being a really good card by itself. Healer God of the Sun, 4 mana, indestructible, 5/6. Other creatures I control have vigilance, and 4 mana, put a 2/1 into the battlefield. So again, this is a hard to remove card, and it can produce creature tokens. So, and it's indestructible. So yeah. Cauldron of Souls, choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures can persist. That's really cool. It can, if a creature doesn't have persist, it can gain persist. So like, say I have like Avacyn, for example, right? This doesn't have persist. Somehow the opponent destroys Avacyn, right? Oh, I didn't have enough mana to save it. Then I can make it gain persist, and then I can use my other combo effects on it to make it come back to life. So that makes any other creature I control come back to life, which is cool. Johnny Goldmane, 4 mana, 4 counter planeswalker, +1, gain 2 life. Second one, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature I control, which gain vigilance. I think this is in this deck because I can gain life every turn. It's just nice to have gaining life every turn. Okay, Worship. This is a really good card for this deck. It's an enchantment. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 instead reduces it to 1 if you control a creature. So when I first saw this card, I was like, this card is insane. It basically means you can't lose the game if you control a creature. And that's pretty much what it means. Yeah, for most decks, creatures are really easy to get rid of for a lot of decks, and therefore this enchantment's not that great. But in this deck, my creatures are really hard to kill, or I have continuous cards that produce creatures like Kajildan Outpost or Heliod, right? I have continuous cards that produce creatures, or I have creatures that are really hard to kill. And that pretty much makes me invincible as long as I have this card. Damage that would reduce my life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 if I control a creature, right? And if those creatures are hard to get rid of, or if I keep producing creatures, then I'm pretty much invulnerable. Now, this doesn't apply to losing life. So if an opponent has Profane Command or something like that, or Drain Life or something, I die. But that's only for black. Only some cards are like that. Story Circle, 3 mana enchantment. I choose a color and comes into play. Again, this makes it harder for the opponent to kill me. This is basically a circle of protection for any color that you want. 1 mana. The next time a sorcerer choice of the chosen color would deal damage, prevent that damage. So yeah, you have a really big say the opponent has a really big green creature, oh, I don't care, like 10-10, 15-15. Yeah, just 1 mana prevents all that damage. I just choose green, and then when it deals damage to me, it does prevent it. So it's really good card for handling big creatures like that. Keeping you alive. Quarry Haven, again, 2 mana, tap, prevent all combat damage that be dealt by target creature. Again, keeps me alive. Built into a land, so it's hard to destroy. Eternal Dragon, another card that comes back to life a lot. You can plane cycle it to get planes put in your graveyard, but the thing is 5 mana, you return it to your hand. You can play it every turn, and then 7 mana for the casting cost. And this is a control deck, so this deck probably goes late. If you have 12 mana, if you have 12 mana, then that means Eternal Dragon can basically die and come back to life every turn. Yep. Unless they remove it from the graveyard. Okay, what else do I have? Glory, okay. 5 mana, 3/3, 3 mana. As long as it's in my graveyard, so when this thing dies, I guess, creatures I control gain protection from the color of my choice until end of turn. And I can do that for as long as I have this mana untapped. So if I have like 6 mana, I can make a gain protection from 2 colors until end turn. If I'm 9 mana, that's 3 colors until end turn, you know, so like, and that's all my creatures. So that makes my creatures really hard to deal with. You know, protection is a really powerful ability. Not only does it gain my creatures protection, like, not only does it make my creatures invulnerable from the color of my choice, it also makes them unblockable by the color of my choice. So if the opponent has like, I don't know, infinite squirrels or something, I just make it gain protection from green, and I can just attack through that wall. They become unblockable. So yeah, protection, as you know, it means you can't be blocked by the creatures of that color, and it means that you don't take damage from creatures of that color. So really, really good ability. Mikaeus the Lunarch. I think I have this card because of the counters and stuff. So I can, basically this card, I can make it gain counters. I can put a +1/+1 counter when it taps, but I can also redistribute the amount of +1/+1 counters on this guy to my other creatures. Remove a +1/+1 counter, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature I control. So I can just, yeah, I can pump up all my other creatures. Now with Persist, as you know, +1/+1 counters cancel out the -1/-1 counters, which means that like both these guys die, they come back to life with -1/-1. Oh, I'll just use Mikaeus, tap her, and then both these guys get rejuvenated, and yeah, makes them harder to kill. I don't think do I have Mother of Runes in this deck? No, I think I used to. Don't have Mother of Runes in this deck. I used to have it. I have Commander Isha though. This is a real cool card. Flying, 4 mana, 2/4 flying, protection from creatures. Protection from creatures means that this thing doesn't receive any damage from creatures, and it's completely unblockable. And it can't be targeted by any activated ability from a creature. So yeah, this card is really awesome and hard to kill. Ajani Call Applied. I have because of this one. This is 3 mana Planeswalker card. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on 1 creature, which means that yeah, if I have a persist creature, then it will cancel out the -1/-1 counter. It also makes something in flying double strike for making lethal, you know, going in for kill. Gideon Jura destroys any tap creature for the second ability. First ability forces the opponent's creature to attack the swing, and then 0 mana to make it become a 6/6 indestructible. Yeah, well, not indestructible, just to prevent all damage that be dealt to it. Becomes a 6/6 human creature that's still Planeswalker. Okay. They have Gideon, ally of Zendikar, another Gideon. The +1 is now a 5/5 creature. I think this one's a 6/6 for 0. This one's a 5/5 for +1. Oh, with indestructible now. I think this one's not indestructible. Okay, this one's indestructible now, so it's better. And then 0 mana to put a 2/2 creature token into play. So that helps. Sun Titan. Whenever attacks or enters the battlefield, I can return a permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from my graveyard to the battlefield. That really helps because this can be any card, right? So if they destroy like, which one? If they destroy like my story circle, for example, if they disenchant it, if they naturalize it, oh, it's coming back because this came back, and I can return this to the battlefield and I get it back. So that's really cool. And yeah, if they somehow manage to kill my other persist creatures, then this can make it come back, which is cool. All right, there's another card I want to show you is Lifeline. This one is whenever a creature is put in the graveyard, when a creature dies and another creature is in the battlefield, then you return that first creature from my graveyard into the battlefield again. So that makes it so that you know, this deck is very good at generating lots of creature tokens and stuff. So I'm probably going to have another creature on the battlefield, and they're hard to kill. And if they do kill one, then it comes back anyways. So yeah, that makes it very hard for the opponent to deal with. Basically, this deck is about having creatures that are really hard to kill and having them come back to life even if they are killed. So yeah, that's the basic premise of this deck. This is called the Persistence is Futile deck because it revolves so much around persistence, like this card. Yeah, Persistence is Futile. Yeah. And that's it. That's my 10th deck here. Alright guys, so this is the last deck I want to show you for now. It's the deck I made a long time ago actually on Magic Online, but just recently I made it in real life as well. This deck is called the Ironworks combo. It is a combo deck. It uses mostly artifacts. I do have a blue base in here just because a lot of blue cards synergize very well with artifacts and with combo decks in general because they have a lot of card drawing mechanics. So the base is blue, and but most of this deck is artifacts with a few blue card drawing cards thrown in here and there. I'm going to show you the main reason of this deck. So the main engine of this deck and what it's named after is called Clark Clan Ironworks. So artifact, sacrifice an artifact, add 2 mana to your mana pool. And this is the engine of this deck because you combine it with cards like Mirror Retriever and Junk Diver. You sacrifice them, then you bring back each other from the graveyard, and then you have cost reduction cards like Cloud Key that makes it possible to replay them over and over while floating infinite mana essentially. And when you have that, you can use a various number of cards to eventually kill the opponent. So let's start out with this card, Cloud Key. It's a cost reduction card. It's a 3 mana artifact. When it comes to play, you can choose any card type, and it reduces the chosen type by 1. So this makes it possible for you to play Mirror Retrievers and Junk Diver. A lot of the other artifacts in this deck, basically almost for free. And if you have multiple of these out, then basically they're free. You know, and that way you can float mana and then do make infinite combos and stuff. There's also Helm of Awakening. I don't have Helm of Awakening in this deck because it also helps your opponent. That's why I don't have that one. But yeah, you can use Helm of Awakening. You can use Cloud Key. I have Ethereum Sculptor. That's another card that's very close to Cloud Key. Another cost reduction card in here. There's also Urza's Incubator, I guess. So there's other cards you can use as well. But Cloud Key is probably the most versatile just because you can. It only helps you, doesn't help the opponent, and you can reduce any card type basically. And then I have Ashnod's Altar. This one is like very similar to Clark Clan Ironworks, except it only works on creatures, not artifacts, and it costs 3 mana instead of 4 mana, so it's cheaper. But same ability, sacrifice a creature, add 2 mana, colorless mana to your mana pool, and it's very essential. It's basically another combo. If I don't get the Ironworks and I have Ashnod's Altar instead, I can just use this instead to set off the combo. See, the Synod is a very broken card. I mean, blue is probably the most powerful card of all Magic historically, and the fact that that blue synergizes so well with artifacts, and this is an artifact land, that makes this pretty much the most broken, one of the most broken lands in the game. You know, along with Tolarian Academy, which I don't have in this deck because it's, for one thing, it's banned, and a second thing, it's too expensive. But yeah, see that the Synod tapped, add 1. It's a blue. It's an island that's also an artifact land, so that makes it, you know, incredible. You know, blue synergizes so well with artifacts, more than any other color. And Junk Diver is one of the key cards of this deck. So it's 3 mana for 1/1. I don't care about the flying and stuff. Really, the thing I'm looking for is this sentence here. When Junk Diver dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And that's what enables the combo to be possible. Say you have Junk Diver or a Mirror Retriever, and then basically what happens is you sacrifice them to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. You float some mana, and then because they cost less, you can play them again because you have another card and you have another one of these guys in your graveyard, so you keep returning it to your hand. You keep returning each other to their hand, and then you eventually kill the opponent. When you have like so much excess mana and other cards I'll show you later. Soul Rain, gotta have that. It's another broken card. What can I say? 1 mana, tap, add 2 mana to your mana pool. It's pretty broken. Okay, here's the other card, Mirror Retriever. Basically, it's Junk Diver, except it's not flying, which I don't care about. But it's 1 mana less, which is really important, because that means that you can literally, if you have 2 of these guys in your graveyard, without any cost reduction stuff like Cloud Key, you can just use Ashnod's Altar or the Ironworks to sacrifice each other to add 2 mana to your mana pool, and that basically is enough mana to keep on playing itself over and over and over. So, whereas with Junk Diver, you need to reduce its cost by at least 1 in order to have the same effect. So this 2 mana here is pretty important. This is 3 mana, so I need like a Cloud Key or some kind of cost reduction in order to play this infinitely. This one plays infinitely just with itself plus the Altar or the Ironworks combo, or the Ironworks card. Sense of Divine on top, really good card for getting the cards that you need. What can I say? That just gets to your combo cards faster. So really good. Thirst for Knowledge is a card drawing card. Draws 3 cards deep, so that's pretty useful. And then, yeah, Mirror Works. Whenever a non-token artifact enters a battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 mana, then put a token that's a copy of that artifact card. That's any non-token artifact. It's not just Junk Divers or Mirror Retrievers or whatever. It can be Cloud Keys, you know. Cloud Key comes up, you pay 2 mana, you get another Cloud Key, and then reduces your artifacts further. And you can copy Soul Rings, you can copy, you know, Junk Divers, Mirror Retrievers, and basically it's lots of fun when you have that combo going, and then you can create more and more synergistic cards, basically. Thoughtcast, another card drawing card. Most of the time, this is going to cost 2 mana or 3 mana to draw 2 cards, which is alright, I think. On average, it's probably going to cost like 2 or 3 mana to draw 2 cards, which is alright. I think that's fair. And then Brainstorm, really one of the best card drawing cards in the game. 1 mana to draw 3 cards, essentially. I mean, you put 2 cards back, but essentially you're digging 3 cards deep for 1 mana, so that's great. Now this is one of the cards that, remember what I'm talking about? You have this infinite combo going on. Well, how are you actually going to kill your opponent with this infinite combo? Well, you have cards like this, Blasting Station. What happens is this one, tap, sacrifice a creature, deals 1 damage, right? Then when a creature comes into play, you may untap it. So basically, say you have a Junk Diver and a Mirror Retriever both on the field. I sacrifice them both to the Ironworks or to Ashnod's Altar to add 2 colorless mana. They bring each other back from the graveyard. I have Cloud Key for cost reduction. So basically, I can do this infinitely. They can keep reviving each other from the graveyard, and I can play them infinitely. So I can do that, and then I can sacrifice them, like tap, sacrifice them, deal 1 damage to the opponent. And then when they come back into the battlefield from the graveyard, because I can play them again, because I have extra mana plus the cost reduction, which means they're basically free to play again, right? So I keep playing them over and over and over. Then I can keep untapping this thing. It's like tap, untap, tap, untap. And then this basically does infinite damage that way, right? So it's like I sacrifice this, brings back Mirror Retriever. Then the 2 mana that I got from the Ironworks, I play the Mirror Retriever, or you know it's free because of Cloud Key or something. And I can tap this to sacrifice one of these guys again, and it brings the other one back. I play the other one, it untaps it. I tap it again, sacrifice it, it deals another damage. It brings the other one back. I play it and taps it, you know, it goes infinitely, and can eventually kill any number of opponents actually, because this does infinite damage basically once that happens. And once you have that infinite combo, it does infinite damage. Grinding Station is very similar. Basically, it's very similar to Blasting Station, except instead of dealing damage, it's milling the opponent. So this one just sacrificed an artifact. So you just sacrifice the Junk Diver or Mirror Retriever, puts the top 3 cards. An artifact comes into play, untap it. So basically, it's the same thing as Blasting Station, except it costs 1 less mana, and you mill the opponent instead of killing them with damage, which takes a little bit longer because you got to wait for them to draw first. So it's like I do my infinite combo, I had to wait until the opponent draws to lose. So it takes a little bit longer, but yeah. Tinker is a really good card. It's restricted or banned, I guess, in legacy formats. At the time you play it, you sacrifice an artifact, then you search your library for any artifact, and you put it directly into play into the battlefield. And you know that's a pretty broken ability for just 3 mana. You just sacrifice an artifact, and you can get any artifact from your library, you know, for free onto the battlefield. So, Fabricate is a lesser version of Tinker. It's like Fabricate is like Tinker, except well, you don't sacrifice an artifact, but you just put it in your hand. You just search your library for an artifact, put it in your hand instead of putting it into the battlefield. So obviously it's less powerful, but this one is legal, I guess. And I just want to use one version, I guess, because I don't want to be too cheap of Tinker. Academy Ruins, really awesome land. 2 mana, you put an artifact from your graveyard on top of your library. So if they destroy one of your artifacts somehow, like if they destroy your Cloud Key or your Altar or your Ironworks, then oh no, you can't do the combo anymore. Well, if you have this land, you can bring back that card so you can, so your combo doesn't have to be broken, you know. You can get your combo cards back. And then I have, what else? We went over all these cards already. Yeah, Quark Crane Ironworks. This is basically the key card of this deck. Like Altar, it costs 1 mana more, but you can sacrifice an artifact, which is pretty much almost anything in this deck, except for my lands. But yeah, pretty much almost anything I have in this deck on the field is going to be an artifact. So it's, yeah. Anyways, these 2 are the engine of this deck. You sacrifice it, add 2 to your mana pool. Then keep replaying the creatures over and over. Skull Clamp is for card draw. As you can see, the Mirror Retriever is a 1/1, and the Junk Diver is also a 1/1. So both of these creatures in this deck are 1/1s, which means that Skull Clamp is actually a card drawing engine in this deck. So they die, they bring the other one back, I replay it, I could equip it basically for free because I got so much extra, I get so much excess mana, right? I basically have infinite mana if I use the Ironworks combo, right? And then I have the cost reduction, so I save up the mana in my mana pool, and basically with Skull Clamp out, it's just 1 mana, and then to equip it, it dies, it draws 2 cards, it gets the other one back from my graveyard, I play it, I can equip it again for free, it dies, I draw 2 cards, so basically I can draw my entire deck with Skull Clamp. This is just, yeah, with the combo out, I can draw my entire deck. I have Ethereum Sculptor is another way of reducing my artifact cards. I mean, like I said, you can substitute this for Helm of Awakening, you can use Urza's Incubator, but some way to reduce the casting cost so that you can basically do this forever. You can especially for Junk Diver because it's 3 mana. Yeah, you can basically enable the infinite combo and you keep on going, and you can save up mana to use Skull Clamp to draw your entire deck, and then find your key combo cards, you know, to actually kill the opponent with. I think there's just one more. Oh, Scrap Heap. Okay, whenever an artifact or enchantment is put in your graveyard from play, you gain 1 life. So basically, whenever an artifact I control dies, I gain a life. And because this combo involves 2 creatures going into the battlefield and going onto the battlefield like basically forever, infinitely, that means I gain infinite life if this is on the field, right? Since this combo involves 2 creatures reviving each other from the graveyard infinitely, then yeah, basically this means I gain infinite life. So Skull Clamp is like infinite. So Blasting Station's like infinite damage, and then I got like infinite mill, and then I got like infinite card draw from Skull Clamp, and then yeah, and then I get infinite life from Scrap Heap. I think there's just one more here I can use to enter. Oh, here's Genesis Chamber. Whenever non-token creature comes to play, I get a 1/1. So yeah, this basically means infinite creatures. I mean, yeah, it's just another way to kill the opponent. I mean, probably Blasting Station is better, just infinite damage, but okay, this just makes me have infinite creatures, so it's another method of killing the opponent. So yeah, that's it. That's the Ironworks combo. Very cool deck. I like this deck because it's not too fast. The combo's not that fast to do. It's not like Hulk Flash where I can just kill the opponent on the 2nd turn. Or Enduring Ideal even, because that kills the opponent on the 4th turn usually, or a TPS, or any of those other combo decks. This one's a little bit slower. It takes a few turns. I think by turn 5, 6, or 7 usually I can kill the opponent, but I mean, you don't want to kill the opponent too fast because that's boring, right? You want to take some time. So I like this deck. Kills the opponent a little bit slower. Usually because it takes a while for the combo to get going. for you to find all your cards. But once you do, is you can kill them by turn 5s. I mean turn 6 or 7 usually, if you can find your cards right. But that's it. That's basically all my decks for now. And thanks for watching. Alright, and there's one more thing I want to show you guys. I've already showed you all my decks. I'm going to show you my Magic the Gathering binder now. Ooh, yes, my beloved Magic the Gathering binder. And this is going to be a look at some of the cards I don't use in any of my decks right now, but they're still really good cards, and I still like them, so I still want to talk about them. I'm not sure if you guys can see well. Oh, maybe you can see well. Okay. Let's hold it like this. Okay. So these are a lot of cards I don't use in my decks. I've already shown you this one already. I use it in my Venture deck. Factor of Fiction is a really good card. It's 4 mana, reveal the top 5 cards in my deck, and the opponent puts them into 2 piles, and then you put 1 pile in your hand, the other in graveyard. So basically, your opponent is picking their poison. They can choose which card they want you to have and which card they don't want you to have, and sometimes it's beneficial either way because you have lots of cards that make use of the graveyard, such as flashback decks or threshold decks. You know, either way, it's like a win-win for you, right? If you use Factor Fiction. I don't have this in my threshold deck because it's a little bit slow. It's 4 mana, but in a control deck, I think it's pretty good still. This is the most powerful card in the game, obviously. No more to say about that. The most powerful card in the game. And then Ponder. This one is really I use this one a lot. Yeah, this one is in my other deck, so I've already talked about this one. Really good card drawing and deck manipulation there. Mull Drifter is another card drawing mechanic. Basically 3 mana evoking it out. It's basically 3 mana, draw 2 cards. And if you want to use this as a creature, you can. It's 5 mana for 2/2 flying, and you draw 2 cards, which makes it really versatile. Then Boros Reckoner is I haven't used this guy much. I was thinking about putting it in my Jund deck. Yeah, I haven't. Maybe I should try it out in my Jund deck. Yeah, it's the 3 mana 3/3. When it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to a creature or player. So it has like a mirror ability on it, and it can gain first strike. So I might try it out in my Jund deck. That's the only deck I use red, white, and I have Impulse. 2 mana for looking at the top. Look at the top 2 cards of my deck, top 4 cards of my deck, and put 1 in my hand. It's just a really good. I don't know why they haven't reprinted this. They should reprint this. It's a really. I don't think it's that powerful, but it's powerful enough to see a lot of play. So yeah, they should reprint Impulse. This is from a really old set, Visions. Yeah, they should reprint that. Look at top 4 cards in my deck, put 1 in my hand, and the rest on the bottom of my library. So it's powerful, but it's not that powerful. So I think they should reprint this. Really good card though, for looking for your combo cards or whatever. Just digging 4 cards deep for 2 mana. Right, Recoil is another card I think they should reprint. This is also really, it's a good card, but not good enough to be broken. It's just a good card. 3 mana, you return anything, any permanent anything on the field to its owner's hand, then that player discards a card. This has the added benefit of if your opponent has no cards in their hand, then they basically have to discard the one that you returned. So that makes this like a Vindicate almost if the opponent has no cards in their hand, which is really cool. I mean, this plus the tempo you gain from this is really awesome because you can like, oh, the attack they have like with a big creature, lots of enchantments. Oh, return it to your hand. Then they have to get rid of a card, so it's really good card advantage. Tempo swing. This is I don't have a Bant deck right now. I used to have a Bant deck, and I used the Freak of the Many in there along with like Noble Hierarchs and stuff. But this is a really good card. I wish I could use it. I just don't have anything that uses this color combination right now. I don't have any decks that use it. But yeah, it's just a really good card. 3/3, Exalted. So whenever a creature I control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1. And then whenever it attacks alone, it gains double strike, which is an incredibly powerful ability. So it's a really good card. Okay, what do you have on this side? Dismember is 3 mana to make a creature get -5/-5 until end turn. So that's basically a kill spell. But this 3 mana, this 2 mana can be played with either black or 2 life. So it's very versatile. You can use it in situations where you're paying 2 mana and 2 life, or you can just pay 4 life and 1 mana, and it's an instant as well. So it's really versatile killing card. Give me something -5/-5 for 3 mana, or 2 or 1. Eternal Witness, one colorless, I should say. This can actually be used in decks other than black. It's one colorless if you paid 4 life. Eternal Witness, obviously a really good card, and I use it a lot in my decks. Inquisition of Kozilek, also use it in one of my decks. This one I also use in one of my decks, I think. It's black-green. Lightning Greaves, I don't think I use this in my other decks, but yeah, 0 mana, equip, really useful, and equip creature is Haste and Shroud. So this is a really powerful equipment. Just equip some creature with it, they can't be targeted. I think I might try this in my Jund deck, because that's more of an aggro deck. Yeah, I think aggro decks are really good with this. Yeah, it's 2 mana by equip 0, so you can attach it as soon as the creature comes out. It has Haste and Shroud, which means it can attack right away and can't be targeted. Diabolic Edict is one of the better removal cards I know. Just 2 mana, instant. Target player sacrifices a creature. It's not targeting the creature, which means that if they have Shroud or if they have Hexproof or they have Protection, and the opponent does not have any other creatures, or they have other creatures that they don't want to sacrifice, then this will basically make them get rid of it. So this is one of the few killing cards that that can basically surpass. It's basically one of the few killing cards that I know, the sacrifice effect, that counters Protection or Hexproof or Shroud. If you make them sacrifice it, then yeah, those creatures still die. Whereas the most killing cards, if you have like Dismember, for example, you can't target it if they have Protection or Shroud or Hexproof. But Diabolic Edict, they still have to sacrifice it, which makes it a really good killing card for those situations. Stillmoon Cavalier, I think I had it in my black, green, white for a while, but I took it out because it's a little bit slow. But yeah, 3 mana, 2/1, protection from 2 colors. This is a pretty efficient creature, I guess. Then a bunch of abilities, can gain flying, first strike, +1/+0. It's just that I don't have enough of a mana sink in those decks to actually use them to its fullest potential. If I had more unused mana, then I think this would be better. Balance is a really powerful card. Each player chooses number of lands equal to number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest. Then sacrifices the rest. The player discards cards and sacrifices creatures the same way, which means that if you have the fewest number of lands, creatures, or cards, then you can make, or all of them, then you can make other players, this is for multiplayer, I think it's best, you can make other players on the table equal yours. So if you have 0 creatures, the opponent has like 10,000, doesn't matter, you play balance, they're all dead. You have 0 cards in your hand, every opponent has to discard their hand. If you have 5 lands and all your opponents have like more than 5 lands, they have to sacrifice all their lands. So really powerful card, just 2 mana too. This card, I don't think I use this many in my decks. Just another creature dies. 4 mana for 4/5 is pretty efficient, but another creature dies, scry 1, gains Death Touch and Hexproof. So it's pretty efficient card. It's just not up to the power level of some of my other cards that I use. I think this could be in my rock deck. Whenever another creature dies, scry 1. Could be in my Shaman rock deck actually. I'm thinking about that. Yeah, there's a lot of cards that belong to those decks though. Vampire Nighthawk, really one of the most efficient creatures. It's there. Yeah, 2 mana, 2/3 flying, Death Touch, lifelink. Telia's Battalion, it was in my Jund deck. 2 mana for 4/3 trample, but you can only play it if you cast another green spell a turn. Primordial Hydra is really, really good. It's X mana, but the thing about this one is it doubles the amount of +1/+1 counters every turn. It has trample when it has 10 or more, which means this, in a multiplayer of the game, like this gets really, really big really fast. Especially if the opponent doesn't deal with this, every turn it doubles in power and toughness, so let's watch out for that. Scavenging Ooze is really good. I use it in my BGW deck. Good for multiplayer. Firemane Avenger, I guess this could be my Jund deck, but not quite good enough. 3 mana flying, 3/3 flying. When at least 2 other creatures attack, it deals 3 damage and you gain 3 life. So basically has a built-in lightning helix on it. Yeah, I think it has a built-in lightning helix when you have Battalion, 2 or more creatures attack, but I don't think I satisfy that requirement enough to justify playing that. Hypnotic Spectre is really good. 2 mana, 2/2. When it deals damage to your opponent, that player discards a card at random. Used to have it a bit in my BGW deck, but the Vampire Nighthawk is definitely better. So I would keep the This is a 2/2, right? So yeah, if it was a 2/3, it'll be a lot better, but still just not powerful enough, I think. Wall of Roots, I used to have this in my Shaman Rock deck. I chose to go with Overgrown Battlement instead. Overgrown Battlement. It's 2 mana 0/5, which is great, and then you get a -0/-1 counter, which is kind of weird. You add 1 mana. The great thing about this is it doesn't tap to use the ability. It doesn't tap to add mana, which is a little bit different than yeah, there's some of the other walls I have, but or some of the other mana generating creatures, but Overgrown Battlement adds 1 mana for like each wall I have, so that just adds way more mana. So I would take that over tapping, I guess. Grim Lavamancer, could have this in my Jund deck as well. It's 1 mana. I have to get rid of 2 cards in my graveyard, deals 2 damage, has a built-in shock, but yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit slow. You have to wait 1 turn, and it's just a 1/1, so it's pretty fragile. But yeah, it's interesting. This is 3 mana for 5/4. Used to have it in my Jund deck. I replaced it with a few more interesting cards, I think. This one's too vanilla. It's just really powerful. It doesn't do anything, really. And then this card, this one I have my Shaman Rock already. You have my Elder. Terminate's really powerful card. Yeah, I just don't have a deck to put this one in right now. Yeah, 2 mana, destroy target creature, can be generated instant. Really powerful card, really efficient. I'm not using Gideon, this Gideon in my decks. I have another Gideon, but not Gideon Jura. Maybe he'll go in, I don't know, he was in my Persistence deck. I just can't think of, because he's 5 mana, and 5 mana is a really big like barrier for me, because I usually have a lot of cards up to 4 mana. The 5 mana, you had to be like really good. You had to like Baneslayer Angel, for example. That's an example of how good you had to be at a 5 mana card in order for me to consider you. So yeah, Gideon, this journey which is not exactly at that level yet. Call the Herd, really good card back in the day, not anymore. Back in the day, this was powerful. Why? It doesn't look that great now, but I think it's because 3 mana for 3/3 was considered pretty good back in the day, and the fact that you can flashback it to use it again, so it's basically card advantage. It's 1 card for 2 elephants. So essentially, you're paying 3 mana, get a 3/3, then you can pay 4 mana. You don't have to use another card. It's the same card, and then you get another 3/3. So yeah, it was good card advantage, but now it's just not powerful enough these days to use. So yeah, sorry, Call the Herd. Fiendslayer Paladin used to have this in my BGW deck. Again, I was thinking about this one or Mirran Crusader. Which one is better? Mirran Crusader is 3 mana, 2/2 pro black and green double strike. This one is basically, it's not exactly protection. It just can't be the target of black or red spells. So not as good as protection from black or red. So it has like semi-protection, I guess. And then it has first strike and lifelink, which is good, but I think I'd still rather take double strike over first strike and lifelink. Vindicate's a really good card. I have it in my BGW deck. Sure target permanent, 3 mana, anything on the field. Fiction Arena, draw more cards. Every turn you draw a card, you lose 1 life. Don't have any deck that fits with that right now. Mutilate, another mass. It's a mass kill spell. All creatures get -1 until end of each swamp you control. I could put it in my Underworld Dreams deck, but I think I prefer Black Sun Zenith instead, in general. Blightning is 3 mana, deals 3 damage, and then that player discards 3 cards, so really powerful, efficient spell. Just don't have any deck to use it in. I don't have any black-red decks right now. Yeah, 3 damage, and then two cards for 3 mana is pretty good. Troll Aesthetic, I don't have any decks that use this right now. It is a very efficient creature though. 3 mana for 3/2 hexproof, then tap 2 to regenerate, which makes it really hard to remove. The problem is that, I don't know, just this guy, I usually don't have spare mana. You know, I wish I could want more spare mana to regenerate creatures, but 2 mana to regenerate, nah. I think it was like 1 mana to regenerate. I think I would play him. Kazali Pridemage, also really good card. Also thinking about having him in the BGW deck, but I do have him in the Jund deck, I think. Yeah, it's 2 mana, 2/2 Exalted, which buffs your other creatures, and then it has a built-in Naturalize, which is really useful. So I do have him in Jund deck, I believe. Yeah, he's good. Go for the Throat. 2 mana, destroy target on artifact creature. So it's very similar to Diabolic Addict. Or Terminate. Terminate's better because it destroys anything, not just it destroys artifact creatures as well. This one's close. The Terminate is destroy any creature. It can't be regenerated, but it's black and red. And this one is just black, but it has to be non-artifact, so you can't destroy artifact creatures. Smother is another 2 mana removal. Target creature converted mana cost 3 or less, can't be generated. So I think I would go for the Throat over this one though, because this one only destroys small creatures. I mean, it can destroy artifact creatures, but the added benefit of destroying artifact creatures doesn't outweigh the fact that you can't destroy creatures with mana cost 4 or more. So Volcanic Fallout, did have this a little bit in my Jund deck. I think I removed it because a lot of my creatures would die from this. It's good against fairies. I think this is what it's good against. Can't be countered. It's good against blue. Can't be countered. That's what that's for, and then deals 2 damage to everything. I think this card was made in response to fairy domination at the time. Mystic Snake. Yeah, it's 4 mana for 2/2, and then it counters a spell when it comes into play. It has flash. This is a really interesting card. The reason I don't have this, I don't have any blue-green decks that would make use of this. Yeah, I mean, I have my Threshold deck, but that's probably not going to use this, so nothing I use it right now. Gemstone Mine is really good. It's basically like it's a land that adds 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and you can use it 3 times, and then it dies. Basically what it does. So for combo decks, it's really useful because combo decks not going to use this more than 3 times. But combo decks really do like to have cards that add 1 mana of any color because they use cards from basically all colors. So this is good for combo decks. I don't have any combo decks that would make use of this though. It's another black-red dual land that I don't really use. And this is the Bogart Ram Gang, is I think another Jund card that just wasn't good enough to keep it in there. 3 mana, 3/3 haste Wither is good, but not good enough. Seria Avenger, I have him in my Jund deck, really good. 2 mana, 3/3 flying, vigilance. I have a Planeswalker here that I don't use. I think I had him in my Jund deck as well. Her in my Jund deck as well, but a little bit slow. And +1 is do 1 damage. And the second one is copying a spell. I don't know, just a little bit slow. Lightning Bolt, obviously, it's really good, so I use it in my Jund. Flametongue Caver, I did have it in my Jund deck for a while. I think I do have like 2 of them. I think I do have like 1 or 2 in that deck because it's 4 mana for 4/2. It has like a built-in Lightning Blast on a creature when it comes into battlefield. So it basically kills almost anything when it comes into the battlefield. So that's really awesome, and the power is pretty high too. So if it has haste, it's really good. Paladin on back, 3 mana, 2/2, first strike, pro black, pro red. Just a really nice, efficient creature. But unfortunately, not as good as some of the other creatures I have these days. So yeah, it's not as good as Mirran Crusader or Fiction Marauder, or Vampire Nighthawk, or Iron Viper, or Glissa. So compared to my other 3 mana cards, it's not quite up to snuff. This was for my equipment deck, but it's 3 mana, and my equipment deck has a 2 mana limit, so yeah, sorry Kemba, no matter how good you are. Condescend, yeah, it's just not as good as my other cards in my blue decks. Just didn't find a use for it yet, but it is a good card. It's a power sync with a scry on it, so it's good. Raging Ravine is really good too. A little bit slow. I mean, my only green-red deck is my Jund deck, and that's an aggro deck. I might play this though, I think, because it's 4 mana for 3/3 whenever. Oh, because I have Treetop Village, and Treetop Village is a little bit more aggro than this is. This takes 4 mana. Treetop Village takes 2 mana to transform into a creature. So, Hull Breach is really good. It's 2 mana to destroy an artifact or enchantment, or both. And that's an incredible value for 2 mana. It's just more of a sideboard card than a main decking card, right? You put in your sideboard. Finderhorn Elves is basically the same as Llanowar Elves, but now we have Elvish Mystic. I used to have this in my elf token deck, but now with Elvish Mystic in there, it replaces Finderhorn Elves because it's newer and it's better looking. I mean, this card is obviously old, so yeah. Soyfin Horn. Look, Summon Elves. That's so old. It's from Ice Age. Soul Ring. I have another Soul Ring there. Extra one. Oh, this is another card I could put in my Jund deck because it is very efficient. 3 mana, 2/3, first strike, Forest Walk, Vigilance. Very nice. And I might think about putting this guy back in my Jund deck. It is because it's just really efficient. But I don't know, Forest Walk. I don't know how useful that one is. The other two are pretty useful. Forest Walk is not really that useful. It's only useful if you're playing a green player. And even then, you might not, because they might just use stuff like this one, like non-basic lands, right? So then Forest Walk is still useless. Alright, Fire Ice, really good card. I just don't have any decks that use red-blue. But put this on an Eisenkron Scepter and you're all good. Putrefy. I think Maelstrom Pulse is better. Yeah. And if I didn't have Maelstrom Pulse, I would use Putrefy. Eldrazi Monument. What did I have this for? Token deck? Yeah, creature control, get +1/+1, flying, indestructible. I might have this for my token deck, but I'm thinking if I have infinite tokens, it really doesn't matter if they're indestructible or not, because I already have infinity, so yeah, doesn't matter in that case. So Draxus Spectre is really good, efficient card. It's basically a hippie, a hypnotic specter that's not random, but it can come back to life after it dies, and with 1 more power as well. But the color combination, I don't use it anymore. Tide Hollow Scholar, same thing. I don't really use this color. Well, I do have a black, white, green deck, but this is just not good enough. You basically remove a card from their hand. You remove an option until this thing dies, but I just, I don't know, just, it would be good in a standard deck, but because I'm using like a casual deck, I can put any card in there, and this card just doesn't fit in there. Innocent Blood, 1 mana to make everyone sacrifice a creature. Really good for destroying protection creatures and stuff, but I guess I could use it in some decks like my Underworld Dreams, but I don't know. I prefer a card that destroys mass creatures. Really good in multiplayer though. Dreadbore, it's 2 mana, destroy target creature or planeswalker. This is basically Terminate. That's also a sorcery, so it's not as good, but destroys a planeswalker. So it's I think it's better than Terminate. Because planeswalkers are really hard to deal with these days. There's so many planeswalkers and they're really powerful. So I think you add Dreadbore in there. Even though this is a sorcery. Crawl Space is good. No more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. The reason I don't use this, I guess I could use it in my Underworld Dreams deck. I guess I don't use it because I have like no mercy, so it doesn't matter how many creatures attack me because they die. So that's I guess I could have it in my Venser deck as well, or my Persistence deck. Yeah, I'll find a home for this. Mirror the Curse is really awesome. 4 mana, 3/2, flying for sure. Haste, deals combat damage, get a +1/+1 counter. It's like 4 abilities on this creature. Awesome creature, just couldn't find room for it. Another Mole Drifter, and Sakura Tribe Elder is Rampant Growth on a stick. 2 mana, search your library for basic land, put into play tapped. He was in my Shaman Rock deck. He got replaced by Yavimaya Elder, which searched for 2 land cards after he dies, and this one only searches for 1. So, but this one puts it directly into the battlefield, whereas Yavimaya Elder puts it in my hand. But still, I think I would take Yavimaya Elder over this. Duress. I have Inquisition of Kozilek instead of this card, which is a better card, I think. Duress is almost as good, not quite as good. Regrowth is really good. The reason I don't use this one is because Eternal Witness is better. Okay, Black Sun Zenith. I would use this mass kill card. I don't think I use it right now. I use this one in my black, green, white deck. Yeah, but I don't think I have other decks that would use this. Propaganda. I use this in my Venser deck. Counterbalance, really interesting card. I think this was played with Tarmogoyf a lot. And Sensei's Divining Top. Yeah. It's played with Sensei's Divining Top a lot because you can manipulate the top of your deck. So yeah, when an opponent plays a spell, you can see the top card. If it's the same mana cost, you counter it. So the fact that this is only 2 mana, I can potentially counter more than 1 card. And probably will counter more than 1 card if this doesn't get disenchanted. Makes this a really good value card. But I don't have any blue decks right now that would use it. Erratic Portal, I have this in my Venser deck. Counter Spell, the original counter spell, just 2 mana counter target spell. Good card. Don't have any decks that would use it. I don't have enough blue decks going on right now. I guess I have my Venser deck and my Threshold deck and some of my combo decks. That's about it, but none of them would use the counter spell. But if I were to use yeah, some deck like that needs counter spells, then this would definitely be the best counter spell. It's the original. So this one is green white Armadyl Cloak, +2/+2 trample and lifelink. So really good enchantment. Just I prefer equipment because equipment can be reused and enchantments cannot. Mirror Crusader, this guy I have in my. Oh, how many do I have of these guys? 4? Yeah, okay, I put 2 in my BGWs, so I have 2 more here left over. Parallax Wave I use in my Venture deck. Phantasmal Image is a really good card. I just don't have any decks to put them in right now. It's basically a clone for 2 mana. The downside is that if something targets it, then it dies. But I think that's alright, considering it's a clone for 2 mana. So that's really, really good value. Yeah. Raincore is really, really good. Probably put in my Jund deck as actually. +2/+0 and trample for 1 mana. The great thing about those enchantments is that it comes back to life after it's dead. So if this gets disenchanted or the creature dies, then this comes back, which means you can reuse it. So I'll probably put this in my Jund deck. Janora is a Bant card, so I don't have anywhere to use it. Otherwise, I would probably use her. 3 mana, 2 mana, pump it up. Treetop Village, really good. I think this is just an extra. I do use it in my Jund deck. Again, I don't have I don't have green-blue to use this in, but really good multiplayer card. Whenever creature deals come to one of your opponents, this is for multiplayer, then, yeah. Oh, this is not only me. This can be my teammate, too. When it deals damage to one of my opponents that's controlling me, draw a card. I'm thinking about using this in my Jund deck as well. I think I took this out in favor of Huntmaster of the Fells and Sarkhan Vol. I think, yeah, but this is really good. 4/2 haste, Battlecry, and attacks. Because your power 1 can't be blocked. This is similar card kind of card, I guess. Haste. This is also haste. Whenever creature control attacks, deal 1 damage to defending. So obviously really good for hasty decks. Offensive aggro decks. Door in the Siege Tower. Do I have a place where I can use this card? Black, green, white. Oh, it is black, green, white card. Okay, I'll probably put this in my black, green, white deck. I forgot about this card. Yeah, Door in the Siege Tower is basically 5/5 for 3 mana. Each creature assigns combat damage to its toughness rather than its power. So it's basically 3 mana for 5/5, which is really good. Sword of Feast and Famine, 2/2 black and green. This is probably the second best sword. First is Fire and Ice. Whenever equipped, you deals combat damage, that player discards a card, you can tap all lands you control. So really good card. I just couldn't put it over Umez Wasjit and Sword of Fire and Ice because those are better. Form of Dragon is for my enchantment deck, I think. It's for my Enduring Ideal deck, which I dismantled. You wouldn't use this in any other deck, really, besides that combo deck. This is for my token deck. I think I already have enough copies in it. Ready, Oversoul Cemetery. Whenever you have 4 or more cards in my graveyard, you return creature card from your graveyard to your hand for free. This is a good card. Still don't know if it's worth putting. I think I can experiment with it, but I already have a really good enchantment for 2 mana. I would have a really good 2 mana black enchantment in my deck, which is Bitter Blossom. I don't think I would put this over Bitter Blossom. Don't care about that card. That's kind of useless. This is for Hulk Flash. I have some extras. Channel's a combo card. It's 2 mana. Until end of turn, I add 1 colorless mana to my mana pool by paying 1 life each. So if I pay this is for the classic Channel Fireball combo, 2 mana, and then you pay 19. You start out with 20 life, right? So you pay 19 life to add 19 mana, and then you burn them for more than that, so they die. Damping Matrix, activate abilities can't be played unless the mana build. I might use this in my Underworld Dreams deck, but mostly this is a sideboard card, so I don't put it in I don't main deck it. It's like a sideboard card. This one looks good for a combo style deck. What is it? Intruder Alarm. Yeah, I used to have this in my Intruder Alarm deck, but I don't have that deck anymore. That's for my Threshold deck. Creeping Tar Pit is really good black-blue card. And then 2 mana becomes a 3/2 unblockable. But I don't have any decks that would make use of this right now. This was for my Cephalid Breakfast deck when I had the Bridge from Below's. And then when you have Bridge from Below, and then you mill yourself with Cephalid Illusionist with you know, the Shuko, and then you infinitely mill yourself. This comes, 4 of these comes out of your deck. Then you sacrifice all of them to Dread Return Flamekin Zealot, and then you have Wonder in your graveyard as well, so everyone has flying. And then because of Bridge from Below, you create like, I don't know, 10 or 12 zombie tokens, and you attack with everything because they have haste, and then your opponent dies. So I used to have that deck. This is for my Underworld Dreams deck. This used to be my Underworld Dreams deck. Players 5 or more cards in their hand deals 2 damage, but I think I replaced it with Iron Maiden instead. Yes, I think I might take out my Black Vice for Miser's Cage. I'm thinking about that. Because this affects all opponents, right? Target opponent's upkeep. Or maybe not. Target opponent's upkeep has 5 more. Okay, I gotta look at the Oracle text. If this affects more than one opponent, then I'll probably replace Black Vice with this. If it only affects one opponent, then Black Vice is still better. Seething Song is this is a combo card. It's for a lot of different combo decks. I don't think I'm using it right now. I think I used it for Enduring Ideal, one of those combo decks. Strionic Resonator, 2 mana copy triggered ability. I was thinking about putting this in my, what is it? Triggered ability, the Venser deck, yeah, because that one had a lot of come into play and leave the battlefield abilities, but I just couldn't make it work out. Strip Mine's really good. You it's a land that destroys another land. Just sacrifice, destroy target land. I'm just not sure which deck this belongs in right now, because a lot of my decks really rely heavily on getting the right colored mana, and adding colorless mana is a real detriment. Asceticism, 5 mana for enchantment, 2 mana to regenerate any creature, and all your creatures have hexproof. Really good card, but it's 5 mana, so it's a little bit much. I don't think any of my decks use more than 4 mana that has green in it. Serum Visions is for, yeah, just same. It's very similar to Preordain or Ponder. It's just another very similar card. I have a holographic Lotus Bloom here, promotional one actually. I think I use this for my Enduring Ideal deck, which I don't have anymore. But yeah, this thing is really cool. It's yeah, it's basically a Black Lotus that you suspend for 3 turns. You suspend it for 3 turns. It comes on the battlefield. It's a Black Lotus. It's like 0 mana for 3 mana, which is amazing. Don't have any other decks though. This is mostly for combo decks. I think I got this out of a booster. This one is a Venser for my Venser deck. I used it for a bit, and then I figured it doesn't work well enough. Beginning my end step, you exile target creature, then return that card to battle. Basically, as a built-in Venser effect for 5 mana, but the casting cost is a little bit much. I think if it was 4 mana, it would see more play. Yeah, but I would put it in my Venser deck. Didn't work out as well as I thought. What is this one? Creatures your opponent controls have lose infect. Creatures you control can't have -1/-1 counters placed on them. I guess this is for, this nullifies the effect of Persist, right? So I think I used a little bit in my Persist deck. Spawn Riot deals combat damage. Put a token that's a copy of it on battlefield. Just a really cool card, but it's I couldn't find anything to put it in right now. Snap, it's a good card. Use it in one of my combo decks. Mystic Study, really good card. I use it in my Venser deck. Steel Overseer is a good card. Put on each artifact creature I control. I don't have any decks to put them in right now. I think it would go into an Affinity style deck. This one was part of my Enduring Ideal deck. No longer used. Amiri the Sky Ruin used to be part of my Persistence deck, but doesn't work that well anymore. So this is part of my Underworld Daydreams deck, and this one is, if turn lose 3 or more life, you may draw a card. Yeah, this black-blue, don't really use it. This is part of my Venser deck. Don't use this one. This is also part of my Venser deck. Yeah, this one came from Booster. This was part of my Enduring Ideal deck. The Enduring Ideal means that, yeah, you basically put a bunch of combination of enchantments on the field, which makes you win the game, and this is one of them. When this came out, basically your opponent could not play anything because he would always get countered, and he would always get creatures, and you play humility on top of that. And then because you play that, then your opponent can't do anything anymore when you play Form of Dragon, which was that one we saw a few turns, like, yeah. Creatures without flying can't attack you. So they lose their abilities. Everything your opponent plays becomes a creature. Yeah, everything your opponent plays becomes a creature. All creatures lose all abilities, and creatures without flying can't attack you. So that means that whatever your opponents do is useless. This is for affinity decks and my equipment deck. I have that. And as of the foremost, I had this in my my black green white deck, but 3 mana for 4/4 is really good. It's just that these abilities are not really that useful to me. Creature put in opponent's graveyard, exile it, and then tap creature. So it's not as useful as I wanted to. Athrea's also used to be my black green white deck. I think I might put this back in. It is a really good card. Whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless an opponent plays 3 life. So yeah, basically it just makes it so that every time your creature dies, you get it back to your hand automatically unless they pay 3 more life, basically. So that's really good. I might put this back in the deck. This is for my token deck. This also used to be my black and white deck. Pumps up all my other black-green creatures, and every upkeep I get essentially a 3/3 into play. So that's basically a 3/3. So I might think about putting this one back in as well. I have this one in my black and white deck. This one was in my Venser deck, but it didn't work out that well. So deals combat damage, exile, non-land permanent, and then return those cards to the battlefield. So it's a flicker. Didn't work out that well because I have to attack with it. No, I had to deal damage to it for combat damage to a player with it. So that's a problem. Slow. Have this in my black and white deck. Have this in a number of decks. Really good card. Shirtless Asian. I don't have a green blue deck right now that uses this, but Cascade Cascade is really good. I mean, that's the only effect it needs, because Cascade is an incredibly powerful effect. Just play this 3 mana 2/2. Doesn't seem that great, but you get a free card. You get a free spell out of it, which is really good. That makes a really good value. This is in my token deck. What is this for? Exile target creature and return to the battlefield under its own. So it's a flicker effect. So it was for my Venser deck, but again, I have to wait a turn to activate this because of the tapping ability. Or is it? No, it's not a tapping ability. So I can actually activate it the turn I play it. But I don't know, it's still a little bit slow because I had to pay another 3 mana. It's like 3 mana, I had to pay another 3 mana to use it. So then this card. Dies, reveal top card of your library, put it into... Okay. I don't know why I have this card. Dawn Elemental was in my Persistence deck. It's 4 mana for 3/3. And then prevent all damage that be dealt to it, which makes it really hard to kill. The only way they could kill it is if they use a remove or destroy effect, then they can get rid of it. But it can't be destroyed by normal damage, either burn damage or combat damage. So it's a good card. I think I don't have it. I don't keep it in because this 4 white mana cost is really prohibitive. And Commander Isha is slightly better still. Okay, Jace, the Living Guild pack. This is just not as good as the other Jaces. I mean, I already have all the Jaces, but this one's just not one of the better ones. Top 2 cards, one of them graveyard, return another non-land permanent, but this is for 3, a -3 effect. And I think the other Jace, not the Mind Sculptor, the other Jace had this one, the second ability be a -2 unsummon. This is a -3 boomerang, which is arguably, I mean, I don't know which one. I think they're both okay costed, but this top one is not really a good effect. Yeah, it's a telling time basically, and I don't know. Just this Jace is not really that great. Ajani Call the Pride, I have this in my Persistence deck. This is also a really good card because you can flashback it and use it again. So essentially you get 4 1/1s with 1 card. So I'm thinking, I don't know. It's a good card. I might use it in my black and white. Enters the battlefield, exile it, choose an all-land card. Not sure why I have that in there. I don't know which deck I would use it in. Ghostly Prison, I use it in my Venser deck. It's Propaganda in white. I use this one in my Venser deck. Blade Spicer, really good. Enter the battlefield effect. I use that one as well. This one, I use this one as well in my Jund deck, I think. Equilibrium, I use in my Venser deck. I have 2 more Jaces here. Actually, if I could put all the Jaces in one locations so I can compare them better. Okay, so here are the 3 Jaces I'm not using. I'm using the other Jaces, but these are 3 I'm not using because these ones are not that great. I think these are the 3 poor Jaces. They're not as good as the other ones. This Architect of Thought, whenever a creature gets attacks you, it gets -1/-0, then it has a mini Factor Fiction as the second ability. But I don't know, it's kind of underwhelming as well. Memory Adept, so the first one is a draw, it's +1 as a draw card, whereas the other Jace, the -1 was draw card. Put top 10 library cards of a library into the graveyard. That's a mill effect, which is not really useful for any of my decks. So yeah, these 3 Jaces are kind of underwhelming, so I don't really use any of them compared to the other Jaces. Okay, Moga's God of Slaughter. I think I might have thought about this in my Underworld Dreams deck, then I remembered that my Underworld Dreams deck is mono black and does not use red. Gift of Immortality, I thought about this in my Persistence deck, because when enchanted creature dies, you return, it comes back to the battlefield, and then this thing also comes back, enchanting the creature, which means that the creature will never die as long as this is not disenchanted, which is cool, but it's just still a bit slow, you know, 3 mana and stuff, and if they disenchant it, then you can't do it anymore. Johnny Steadfast, thought about this in my Persistence one, oh no, my Venser one as well. It's like, until in turn, 1 creature gets first strike, vigilance, lifelink, and +1/+1, and then get a +1/+1 on each creature and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. So that's good. It's just a little bit underwhelming if you don't have another planeswalker on the field. Alright, and Urza's Incubator, like I said, in my Ironworks deck, if I don't have Ethereum Sculptor, I can probably substitute it with Urza's Incubator and reduce the casting cost. And then, yeah, that's what that's used for. This is also used in my Ironworks deck. This thing, 2 mana to 1/1, counters remain on it as it moves to any zone other than a player's hand or library. That's really cool. Yeah, but I don't think I have any deck that would make use of that. Mystic Snake again, most powerful card in the game right again. Clone, yeah, like I said, Phantasmal Image is better. It's just 2 mana. It's half the cost. Does the same thing essentially. So this is probably not going to be used. This was used in my Enduring Ideal deck, so that the opponent, when I had my Solitary Confinement out, then I put out this Psychic Possession, because Solitary Confinement is like prevent all damage that be dealt to you, and you can't be the target of spell's ability. So basically you're invincible, but you can't draw a card, and you have to discard a card every turn, or else you have to sacrifice it. And I have this one in combination with that one, so it's like this one, well, I skip my draw step anyways, but when my opponent draws a card, you draw a card, so I still get my draw step basically. So this was used in combination with Solitary Confinement. So basically you're invincible, you always draw cards, and yeah, that's what that's used for. And that's it. That's my binder for now, reviewing my Magic the Gathering cards. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any Magic cards. I think I'm a pretty good Magic expert at this time, having played over 14 years. But yeah, so let me know. That's it. Alright, this is a play test of the black, green, white deck I have versus the Jund deck that I have, which is green, white, and red. So we'll see which one wins in this playtest match, which means I'm just playing against myself, simulating, I guess. All right, so player 1 rules. I'm gonna say player 1 is that, and I'm player 2. So Will's an 11, player 2, that's me. Will at 10. So whoever wins, whoever gets higher goes first. They start at 20 life. I start at 20 life. Okay, each player draws 7 cards. Now, I'm going to pretend that I don't see his hand, but I have to see his hand because I'm playtesting. Okay, I'm going to keep that hand for player 1, and then for me, that's what I have, and I will keep mine too. So, okay, player 1 goes first. They'll put out Windswept Teeth and sacrifice that, lose 1 life, 19. Yep. And search for Swamp Force. Search for Temple Garden. Put into play tapped. Actually, yeah, Temple Garden. Where is it? Oh, here we go. It's a dual land. Okay. Now, that's his hand. My turn. Oops. My turn. Alright, I'm gonna play Evolving Wilds and sacrifice it for, what do I have? Oh, probably need a forest. Forest tapped. Okay. Opponent's turn 2. It's a hand. I'm gonna put out Overgrown Tomb. Yeah, Overgrown Tomb comes into play. Tapped, and tapped the Temple Barn to put out Birds of Paradise. Okay, my turn 2. This is my hand. I'm gonna put out another, I'm gonna do another Evolving Wilds for a mountain. Turn 3, player 1. 3 mana. That's what we have in hand. I'm gonna put out Knight of the Reliquary. Yep, put out Knight of the Reliquary. My turn. Turn 3. My hand. I'm gonna put out Loxodon Smiter, who is a 4/4. There. Opponent's turn. Turn 4. Player 1. Loxodon Smiter. Let's see. Join the Siege Tower. Gets put out. Yeah, Join the Siege Tower comes out. It's a 0/5, but now every creature does damage equal to their toughness, which means he does 5 damage. Essentially, that's my turn. Turn 4. Ooh, I have a Nea Panorama. Put this out. And I'm not going to sacrifice it yet. I'm just going to put out Bloodbraid Elf, which has Cascade. So I will reveal cards from my deck until I reveal something less than mana cost 4. Lightning Bolt. So I play this card automatically and I target it on the Knight of the Reliquary. In response to that, player 1 taps that, sacrifice the Overgrown Tomb, and then gets another Overgrown Tomb just to thin out the deck more. Yep, it's another Overgrown Tomb. Okay, and it dies. And that's it, I don't attack. Alright, player 1's turn now. That's the hand. Still 3 mana. Let's see. Yep. I think put out Kitchen Finks. Gain 2 life. Actually, not Kitchen Finks. Sword of Fire and Ice. Put out Sword of Fire and Ice. And that's it. My turn. Doesn't have enough mana to equip it. Another land. 5 mana. Okay, this is my hand. Interesting. Okay, I'll try to play a Vexing Devil. It's 4/3 unless unless the opponent has him deal 4 damage. So he'll take 4, of course, to kill it. So it's down to 15.
hand, it's got a 5/5 essentially. This is just a 2/2 now. But next turn he'll have protection from red, and next turn I'll have protection from red and blue. Okay, I'm fine with that. Next turn, opponent's turn. Scavenging Ooze. 3 mana to put out Eternal Witness and getting back one of the lands. I'm getting back the fetch land here. Windswept Heath. Put it back out, sacrifice it for another land from the deck. Search for another forest or plains. And this time getting a Murmuring Bosk. Putting it out. Tap. Actually, it doesn't come into the field tapped. Oh no, it does. Unless I have a Tree Folk. Unless I have a Doran, which I already played, so it's tapped. Okay. And probably kill one thing. Attack for 5. Using the Doran to attack for 5. Then this is my hand. So this now does only 2 damage because of Doran. So block for 2 and then lightning bolt it. So that's 5 damage total. So both dies and then Doran dies. Okay, my turn. This is my hand. I'll probably sack the Nea now to search for, use the ability, search for a forest. Actually, no, I'll search for a plains. Yep. Tapped. And what should I do? Don't have enough mana to play anything else really, besides the lightning bolt, but I don't really want that. I don't really want to play that. Okay, I'm attacking for 4. And opponent blocks. Okay, opponent's turn. 4 mana now. Now he has a Planeswalker. Plays Sword, Lord of Innistrad. Planeswalker comes with 3 counters on it. Uses the +1 counter to make a 1/1 vampire with lifelink. Yep. So that's the +1, so that's 4 counters. It's 1/1 vampire with lifelink there. My turn. Okay, I drew Terramorphic Expanse. I'm going to use it, sacrifice it, and get a forest. Tapped. Okay, now what do I have in my hand? Okay, it's got 4 counters on it. Okay, I'm gonna play Bloodbraid Elf. Another Cascade again. See what we get. Loxodon Smiter, 3 mana, which is less than it comes out to for free. 3 mana less than 4. Then attacking for the Sorin for 4. Of course, block with the 1/1. And then gain a life because I had lifelink. So I have 15 now. Okay, now opponent's turn. It's the hand. Making a 1/1 for Sorin. Now I'll put another 1/1 lifelink out. Putting another Birds of Paradise out. And putting out Dark Confidant. And that's it. Okay, my turn. I'm still at 20. Opponent's at 15. Oh, another Terramorphic Expanse. I'll have to sacrifice this one too. Alright, and get another Plains. I now have 6 lands in play. I got 2 Evolving Worlds, 2 Terramorphic, and 1 Nea Panorama in my graveyard. Okay, so this is what's in my hand. Okay, I'm going to put out Mirren Crusader and attack Soren with everything. Okay. Opponent blocks on Smite with that. Blocks my Blood Rated Elf with the Dark Confidant. And actually, blocks on Smiter with Birds of Paradise. So it dies. Gain a life. Okay, now opponent's turn. Put out Godless Shrine. Into play tapped. And then actually, yeah, okay. And then someone gets a +1, put a 1/1 lifelink into play. Actually, I'm gonna pay 2 life. Oh, he's gonna pay 2 life. 14. And then gonna play 5 mana, 3 mana for Kitchen Finks, which gain back that 2 life, back at 16, and then 2 mana to equip it to the Sword of Fire and Ice to the 1/1 token here. Okay. Yeah, so now that token is a 3/3 protection blue, protection red. And that's it, my turn. Another Nea Panorama, okay. Oh, I got 2 cards in my hand now. Okay, I'm gonna play Flame Tongue Kevu. And I'm gonna sacrifice the Nea Panorama for another forest. There. Flame Tongue Kevu is gonna do 4 damage to the Kitchen Finks, which dies and comes back as a 2/1 from Persist, gains 2 life, 18. And I'm gonna attack the Soren with everything. Actually, at this one, protection from black and from green, so I pretty much bypass everything. So no, I'll just attack the player with these 3 and I'll attack Soren with that because he can't block that. Okay. So Soren automatically can't block anything, it's protection from black and green, and it's double strike, so I'm dealing 4 damage to that. So 4 damage, only has 2 counters left. And attacking him with the other ones. Kitchen Finks. Oh, actually. Oh. Okay, we're having a rematch. I'm joined again. My opponent is BGW. I go first this time. We're both at 20 life. Both decks are shuffled. Let's go. Alright, so this is my hand. 7 cards. Alright. I'll keep this hand. My opponent. My opponent also keeps his hand. Okay. Alright, I'll begin. Terramorphic Expanse into a forest. Actually, into a plains. Actually, most of my cards are... Actually, no, I'll get a mount. I'll get a forest. Yeah, there. That's it. Pass my turn. Opponent's turn. Okay, Windswept Heath. Pay 1 life, 19. Into a Godless Shrine. And that's the hand we have here. That's it. My turn. Evolving Wilds into a plains, and that's it. Actually, into a mountain. Opponent's turn. Okay. Play Verdant Catacombs, pay another life, 18. Into Verdant Catacombs into a Temple Garden. Okay, and that's, I don't know, pay 1 mana for Mother of Runes. Mother of Runes comes into play. Actually, no, Inquisition of Kozilek. Me. Okay, so this is my hand. Mana cost 3 or less, goes into the garbage. He's gonna choose, actually out of this, which one is the most threat? I'd say probably Rancor, that's the one that's hardest to get rid of. Yeah, so get rid of Rancor. Alright, my turn. No mana. Nope, nothing. Can't do anything. Opponent's turn. Reflecting Pool. 3 mana. Dark Confidant and Birds of Paradise. Right away, I'm going to use 1 mana and Lightning Bolt the Dark Confidant. So it's dead. Yep, that's my turn. Nope, nothing. Still got no mana. Opponent's turn. Overgrown Tomb. 1 mana for Mother of Runes. Right away, I'm going to Lightning Bolt the Mother of Runes. So it's dead too. Okay, my turn. Okay, I finally got plains. Now I can play. Still nothing. Still can't play anything. I need double white, double green. Okay, opponent's turn. Marsh Flats. Lose another life, 17. This time get a Murmuring Bosk. Oh, that's a forest, right? No, I can't get a forest. Okay, I have to get something else. Another Temple Garden. It's fine. And not really anything for him to play right now. That's it, pass. Alright, my turn. There, 4, finally got an extra mountain. Play Bloodbraid Elf, 4 mana Cascade. What do I cascade into? This is non-land, right? Yeah, non-land, okay. I get a free Planeswalker out of it. Okay, this is a free Planeswalker, I guess. It's Dami Rade. And I can use him. Look at top card in my library. If it's a creature card, I may reveal and put in my hand. I'm going to use the +1 ability. And look at the top card in my library. It's not a creature card, so don't do anything with it. Okay, opponent's turn. Okay, Abrupt Decay. Destroy target non-land permanent. So it's going to use Abrupt Decay on the Dami Rade. So it's dead. It's 3 mana. So that can be destroyed. My free Planeswalker is dead. And then has enough mana left over to play Elspeth, Knight Errant. This comes with 4 counters, and the +1 is put a 1/1 soldier creature token, so we'll do that. 1/1 soldier creature token there. Alright, my turn. Browbeat. Okay, I'm going to play another Bloodbraid Elf, another Cascade. Path to Exile, I can play Path to Exile for free. Yeah, I'm going to exile the Birds to Paradise then. It's gone, and since there's no basic lands in that deck, nothing else happens. And I'll attack, both of them have haste, so I'll attack the Elspeth with both of them. One of them get blocked, dies, and the other one does damage, so 3 damage gets dealt. That's it. Opponent's turn. Black Sun Scene is Vindicate, so it's okay. One of the Bloodbraid Elves gets swords, so I guess removed, exiled. I gain 3 life, I'm at 23. use the +1 ability to make a token. And that's it. My turn. Okay, I'll lightning bolt the Elspeth. It's dead. Yeah, lightning bolt it. It's dead. Bye bye. And the other 3 mana I'll use for Browbeat. I draw 3 cards unless they take 5 damage. And of course he doesn't want me drawing 3 cards, so he'll take the 5. He'll down to 12. And he'll attack and then block the 1/1. Okay, opponent's turn. Play tapped. Nothing really else he can do. That's it. My turn. Okay, I'm gonna put down Loxodon Smiter. That's it. And attack for 3. Down to 9. Yeah, 9. I'm at 23. Opponent's turn. I have the Reliquary. And he's going to use Black Sun Zenith to kill everything. This one put 4 -1/-1 counters on every creature. Yeah, 4 -1/-1 counters on every creature, so everything dies here. Both of them die. My turn. I still don't have another white mana. Okay, I'll have to play Troll Ascetic then. Troll Ascetic. Yes, hexproof, so we can't target it. Alright, Godless Shrine. Which comes play tapped. Put out the only thing you can do, really play Knight of the Reliquary, who is a 3 land cards in the graveyard, so he's a 5/5. Okay, my turn. Another Browbeat. I'm gonna Browbeat again. Unless he wants to take 5. I think he's down to 9 right now, so he doesn't really want to take 5. So I guess I'll draw 3 cards this time. 2, 3. And I'm going to use one of the extra cards to remove the Knight of the Reliquary with Path to Exile. So that one gets exiled. And attack for 3. So he's down to 6. Okay, opponent's turn. Oh, and you can't target that, huh? Inquisition of Kozilek me. Gets rid of, oh, which one to get rid of, huh? They're all pretty bad. I guess get rid of the double strike. Get rid of the double strike or the Sarah Avenger. It's flying. I think any one of these creatures is bad. Get rid of the Silver Blade then. Alright, my turn. Yeah, so I'll play Fleeceflame Lion. Yeah, I hit for 3 again. It's down to 3. Opponent's turn. 2 Vindicates. Alright, well he's gonna die. He has nothing else to play. He can Vindicate one of the Placemate Lion. But I'm still gonna kill him with the Troll Ascetic because it's hexproof, so you can't target that. Alright, my turn. Yep, so it doesn't matter what I have. I'll just attack for 3 and he's dead. That's it. 2 for 2. Jund wins.